Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to the Sean O'Connell Show. Hopefully you had a wonderful weekend. It is a beautiful day in Salt Lake City, Utah. We're going to do our best to provide you with information and entertainment for the next 3 hours in a jam-packed show. Carly Dockendorf, Red Rocks head coach, joining us in 30 minutes. Nationals begin on Thursday. The finals are on Saturday. Utah chasing its 11th national championship, but it's been a while. It would be the first in 30 years. We are 49 straight years that Utah has advanced, though. This is a dynasty program that, if you're going by the Gordy Chiesa rule, wants to be a blue blood, you got to win a championship soon. All right?
It's true. He would say not a blue blood.
He'd say Gordy keeps a high standard.
See, so I actually put a lot of thought into after that appearance with Gordy, because I was like, yeah, on the one hand, if you haven't won a championship in 10 years, are you still a top program in whatever league you're in? But then as I thought about it, I feel like with college basketball, it's a Final Four appearance, right? In 10,
which is
10
weird.
10 years without a Final Four appearance is like, okay, you've probably dropped out of things. As long as you've been in the Final Four, you're still nationally relevant. You're still one of the best programs in the country.
Which, by the way, James Peterson
maybe
is producing today.
Maybe that ought to be with, as long as you're in nationals with gymnastics, the Final Eight. I don't know.
The weirdest thing about the Final Four for me is, and we're not going to do it anymore with football. We did it for 2 years with football. We're not going to do it anymore with football, where being a playoff team was kind of a feather in the camp. Like, being in the Final Four in college basketball is a huge deal, and we treat it almost the same way we treat winning.
Yeah, it's like you won a national championship, but you really just
imagine if we
lost
did that
in the semifinals of the championship.
And by the way, it's easier in a lot of ways. I'm not pretending that it's easy, but it's easier in a lot of ways to put it together and go on a run to a Final Four in NCAA basketball than it ever was to be a top 4 team in college football or a top 4 team in fill in the blank. Gymnastics, in skiing, where Utah's won a bunch of national championships. Weirdly enough, we have created a different measurement of success in college basketball that does not apply to any other sport.
Yeah,
we don't like. I guess you don't even do it in the professional. Like, you don't hang a banner for making it to the Western Conference Championship. You do if you win the Western Conference Championship.
It's for the
Final 2, then you celebrate that.
Yeah, for the NBA and the NFL, getting to the Super Bowl, getting to the NBA Finals, probably NHL too, getting to the Stanley Cup Final is the equivalent to making the Final Four.
Yes,
which is one round farther.
It's one round further, and you have to win anywhere from anywhere from 8 games. Well, 8 games out of
NFL single elimination like NCAA tournament, but hockey and NBA, even MLB, World Series too, same thing. You have to win 4 out of 7 in that round to get there.
So it's just a complete non sequitur, total aside here. But it is very strange that we have decided Final Four is adequate for celebration in college basketball specifically. If you get to the Final Four in the NBA, if you get to the Final Four in the NFL, if you get to
finals,
get to the Final Four in baseball, you might still get fired as a coach.
Yeah.
If you get to the Final Four as a coach in college basketball, your job is safe and you're one of the best in the business.
Hey, ask Grady Little now 22 years ago after he left Pedro in the game.
And again,
against the Yankees when they had the lead, hey, you collapse in the World Series in Game 7 and on the doorstep of the World Series, you get fired.
Like, you can win 25 games as a college basketball player or coach that year, and you can be in the Final Four.
Yeah.
Because you're going to make the tournament, right, if you win 20 games, and then you got to win 5 games in the tournament to make it to the Final Four.
But if you're not a first 4 team. 5 if you're a first.
Okay, sorry.
So yeah,
4
4 to
get
5.
24 games.
Yeah.
And honestly, you don't even have to win 20 games to make it to the tournament all the time.
Yeah. That's kind of the general. If you're a 20-win team, you generally make it in.
But so
I
you
think
could
that's good.
You could be given this like,
Yeah.
hey, good job if you win 24 games.
Yeah.
If you had 24 games in baseball, you're fired.
I think it's probably because the regions are like the conference championships. So the regions in the NCAA tournament are like the conference championships in the other sports. You win your region, you go to the Final Four. You're a regional champion.
Yeah, fair.
I think that's probably why we celebrate them like they made a finals berth in any other sport, World Series berth, Super Bowl berth.
I guess,
but
it's a weird deal.
Yeah, it is a little weird. It is a little weird to think about it. But I think even though you're totally valid in saying a lot of coaches get fired after losing in conference championship game, conference finals, a league championship series, whatever it might be in other sports, I think getting to the semifinals of your league really is worth.
No, it's great. It's awesome.
Is worth celebrating. So I think that yeah, if in the NBA, if you are a conference finals team, if not a champion and an NBA finals team consistently, I think we do call those teams the blue bloods of the NBA. We give you credit, right? Like the Celtics before they won the championship, they were one of the current blue bloods league, not just historically, but because they were always going to at least the conference finals.
But most of the Celtics love is based on the trophy case, which is fine. Anyway, we don't want to spend too much time on this today.
But I wonder if gymnastics is making it to nationals, which yes, it's been now. This year is the 30th year without a national championship for Utah, but the fact that they've been in the Final 8 and sometimes it was 10 in the 70s and 80s.
We'll ask Carly Dockendorf what constitutes a blue blood in gymnastics, and we'll see. She knows the industry standard a lot better than we do. So
absolutely.
She's joining us in 20 minutes. Looking forward to that. The weekend in sports was very interesting for a lot of different reasons. Most of you, I think, spent a bunch of time watching the Masters this weekend. I'm sure even more of you tuned in for the PFL fights on Friday nights.
Oh, yeah.
I bet that the PFL
tradition
Friday
unlike
night,
any other.
Yeah, I'm sure that when the numbers come back, that our Friday night rating for the bantamweights and women's flyweights is just a little bit better than the Rory McDonald Masters completing the grand. Did I say McDonald? Rory McDonald is a fighter.
Okay,
for those people.
I was gonna say
the Rory McIlroy. Please don't judge me. Rory McIlroy completing the career Grand Slam. And by the way, 2014 to 2025, that's some patience. That's when he won the PGA.
Was he a blue blood in golf? I don't know about that.
He was, though. That's what's so funny about golf, too, is Rory was one of, we talked about Rory.
He had a lot of second and third place, the top 5 finishes in majors in that time.
But Rory, and by the way, I've made it pretty clear, I'm a newbie with golf. I haven't embraced golf over my lifetime the way that a lot of sports people do, especially guys in my age cohort. You cannot turn away from the drama, the pageantry, the theater of the final round playoff holes at the Masters with a couple of guys who know each other incredibly well, who we've gotten to know pretty well over the years, and the storylines and the broadcast just did an incredible job with it. The cameras, I don't know what filter they put on the actual lenses or on the cameras at Augusta, but it feels like it's in a different world. When you're watching that and how green it is, it just feels like it's on Pandora or something where avatars live. So all of that, you can't turn away from it. You can't, and honestly, I didn't have to turn away from it. I had to turn into it because my buddy who came over for dinner with his family was just like, dude, put this on. We can worry about the burgers later. We can worry about, Let's turn this on and let's watch the end of this thing. And I was like, well, I was probably just going to catch it on YouTube so I'd be ready, do the replay on YouTube so I'd be ready to talk about it on my show. And he just looked at me with pure disdain. It's like, what are you doing? Turn it on. And you know what? I'm glad. I'm glad we did. I have a poll question out at Real OC Sports on how much you were watching of the Masters. I came in this morning and I said, James Peterson, how was your weekend? And he was just like, I was glued to the Masters. So,
and I'm typically not a watch every minute even of the Masters, but the drama that Rory created by first having a great Saturday to get into the lead and then almost collapsing completely was too good not to watch.
You want to create appointment viewing in sports, okay? Especially in this format where it's kind of a long form. It's a 4-day test, right? You have a great first 3 days, or at least a super solid first couple of days, a great third day, and then you start your fourth day by potentially pooping down your leg.
Losing all of it.
Just be like, oh, no, because that created conversation and drama and attention in a way. If as much as people enjoyed Tiger, and Tiger's not the only one, he's just the best example, because we enjoy dominance in sports, but we only enjoy it for a time. And we only enjoy it, I think, in like a snackable amount. You're just like, wow, it's really great to, every now and again tune in and you watch a 50-point night from Jokic. It's really incredible to see LeBron still doing it over and over and over again. But we've grown so fatigued and so used to LeBron being one of the best players on the planet that we're now just like, we find ways to be bothered by LeBron, right? So as much as everyone enjoyed Tiger, the novelty of Tiger wore off, and then it turned into awe, and then it turned into, you just have to watch him because the Sunday Red and all that kind of stuff. If you want to be Rory McIlroy and you want to make sure everybody is tuning in to watch the Sunday round of the Masters, you want to spike those television ratings, this is the exact way to do it. I know it wasn't by design, but you double bogey holes that other people are usually birdieing, and you allow for the guys behind you to catch up. Yes, it's fun to be like, can that guy set a record? Can he win this Masters by a record-setting margin?
Can he be better than anyone ever? Yeah.
That's cool, right? But if you're not going to do that, then you have to create this kind of drama in theater, and it couldn't have gone better for the broadcast. It couldn't have gone better for the golf fan. And at the end of the day, it couldn't have gone better for Rory, who at the end of it all got to sit there and talk to the media about the fact that he's had the same caddy, they're friends since they were 7 years old, and that this journey has been so gratifying and long. And it was just kind of a celebration not only of the weekend, but of his career. And he's one of 6 golfers to complete the Grand Slam.
It was the longest gap between the third of the 4 major wins and completing the Slam too, by the way. They kept showing on the broadcast. Jack Nicklaus needed 3, and I can't think of the other guy, but 2 of the guys needed 3 years to get that 4th of the Grand Slams. Rory needed 11. It was such it's been such an excruciating 11 years at the Masters in particular, and then even the drama at the U.S. Open last year, because he hadn't won a major period in 11 years. How he had a collapse at the end of the U.S. Open that Bryson DeChambeau sort of stole it from him last year. It's been so excruciating at times for Rory McIlroy that it made, whether you're a huge golf fan, whether you're kind of casual like I am, it made his win that much better, especially because it felt like this is how it had to happen for him to finally break through and win another major, let alone the Masters and complete the Slam. It had to be the ultimate struggle, and that's how it turned out.
The other wild thing about Rory in golf, right? He's got the salt and pepper, he's got the gray at the temples and all that kind of thing, and he's been at the forefront of golf conversation for so long that if you ask an an average person on the street, like Rory McIlroy, do you know who he is? Oh, yeah, professional golfer. How old do you think that guy is? There's no way people are going to guess 35 years of age.
Yeah, he's probably in his 40s.
You'd be like 45 plus.
Yeah.
He's 35. He's done this, and he's now one of 6. Gene Sarazen, Ben Hogan, Gary Player, Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy. Those are household golf names.
It might have been
forever.
It was either Hogan or Player that was the other guy who took a couple of years.
You know what? Like, I know who all those guys are. I don't know that I've seen anyone besides Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy actually play golf.
Same. I've seen plenty of Jack Nicklaus highlights. We all see the CBS promo used to be Jack Nicklaus's, I think, 86 Masters winning putt when he came back from however many down. 15 or 11 years in between his last Masters win, his final major win. That used to be the highlight. So I've seen that over and over again, but I never saw him play.
This is kind of like, everybody knows who Babe Ruth is.
Yeah.
We've all seen Babe Ruth grainy film highlights. Nobody watched Babe Ruth play.
Yeah.
Right? Very few people. Everyone knows who Nolan Ryan is. How many people do you know that like actually have memories of watching Nolan Ryan play live baseball, even on TV? Right? You're getting to the point now where like he has joined this pantheon of greats that you know who they are. You're aware of their greatness, even if you didn't actually watch them. Even if the only way you got to digest their accomplishments was by being fed highlights. Like, I've never seen a full round of golf by Jack Nicklaus, for sure. The same is true of Hogan. I've never seen those dudes play a full round of golf. I've seen Tiger Woods and I've seen Rory McIlroy play full rounds of golf. I've tuned in live and watched them, but like he is now, I'm not going to say Mount Rushmore because that's too cliche. It's also too limited. But he's now there.
It's the wrong number too, OC, if we're going to split hairs here. 6 and 4.
That's right. That's right. You got because if you're making a Mount
just
Rushmore,
on principle, it can't be a Mount Rushmore.
If you're making a Mount Rushmore of golf, like one of those guys doesn't get to be, two of those guys don't get to be on it.
Yeah.
Now, Tiger Woods would be more of the like. He doesn't need to be on Mount Rushmore.
No, he's got his own category.
Tiger Woods
he and Jack are basically their own category, and you could argue separately too. They don't even have to be in the same category.
Who's the Native American chief, the Crazy Horse Memorial that they've made this?
Oh, right, that's right next to Mount Rushmore.
That
right?
they haven't completed, but if they ever do, it's going to be like 4 times the size of Mount Rushmore. That's Tiger.
Yeah,
that's Jack, and then you can put the other 4 guys on the Mount Rushmore.
Yeah,
you could do that.
There it is. I love the real life adaptation. Yeah, with Tiger. Another quick aside. They showed it's been 20 years since Tiger had that incredible putt or chip on 16 that the ball, he hit it up towards the hill. It rolled down super slow and then hung on the lip of the hole for like 5 seconds and then finally dropped. And his reaction is double fist pump. Crowd's going nuts. The crowds still go nuts for these golfers. We saw that this tournament. But I'm watching that highlight, and I remember seeing it live. It's one of the best shots, one of the most iconic golf shots ever. But I'm watching that, and I go, there was just no one like Tiger. And it's not even about his skill or his dominance. That's certainly part of it. But it's about the emotion. It's about the showmanship. Bryson DeChambeau is a modern guy who's tried to be a little bit more of a showman, and I think he's pulled it off in some respects. But even he gets nowhere close to how Tiger was as a like Tiger celebrated shots like that like he just dunked on somebody's head.
Yeah, Tiger,
which you don't see golfers do.
Tiger was like somewhere between Michael Jordan and Happy Gilmore because it was like, wow, he's better than everybody at this. But also he reacts to his greatness differently than anyone else does, and he creates reactions in the fans different than anyone else does because of that. I will say this. I know there's been plenty of golfers who've cried when they win and achieve, a goal and greatness and things like that. You are going to see paintings of this, photo upon photo upon photo, slow motion, like Rory McIlroy collapsing in relief and joy and elation, and his body was this was not like mild tracings of tears down his cheeks. He was like shaking, crying. This was like
screaming, probably let's effing go. Like
this guy was, he was like, there was a ton of emotion here. And that, again, you're talking to someone who does not necessarily drink the golf Kool-Aid. That, though, is undeniable. Watching that is, in my opinion, close to being like that's somebody achieving their Olympic dream.
Yeah.
That's something like the man has been at it for 2 decades in the public eye, right in front of us. We've watched his successes. We've watched his failures. And we will continue to do so, by the way. He's going to have more of them.
Yeah, like you said, he's
35 years old.
35 years old. He could win a handful.
On the PGA for another 10 years.
He could win 3 to 5 more of these majors before he's done winning majors.
Okay, so now Rory, he's going to sign with Live Golf. And he's going to take a $200 million payday.
Right off into the sunset.
Just be like, well, I got
Saudi.
the career Grand Slam. Bye-bye.
Oh, man.
In any case, it was really cool to see. Even if you are not a golf fan, this was worth watching. And I put the Twitter poll out there kind of in that spirit. How much did you watch? Thursday to Sunday, only Saturday and Sunday, Sunday only, or none of it at all? Right now, none is winning the poll. That might be a profiling of people who like my show or like not the golf
Maybe
people.
Not a lot of golf fit. Maybe they're more like you, very casual golf viewers.
And that's fine if you didn't watch any. I'm not judging you because
if you combine all the other ones, it's like 40-something% that said they didn't watch any, right?
No, 31% says they didn't watch any.
So it's still 70 that watched some.
Yeah, 69% of people watched some of it. And
but it is noteworthy to say that the single choice that's winning is the none.
Well, the other interesting thing about this is there are more people claiming they watched Thursday to Sunday than just watched Sunday.
That is really interesting.
That's fascinating to me. Anyway, all right. We got a lot to get to on the show today, so I'm actually going to do my best to stay on clock. Carly Dockendorf is joining us in about 7 minutes, and I have told you over and over again that you need to have a guy for everything or a gal for everything if that's the way you roll. When you've got a problem with your windows, you need to have a window guy. We have that for you, Advanced Window Products. When you need tires, Les Schwab Tires. The professionals there get the job done right the first time. They got the cars, the wheels, the tires, the accessories. They got it all. When you need help with your roof, you better already have your roofing guy because you don't when you're starting to find the problems with the roof, when the water is trickling down onto that leather chair that you just bought for your wife for a birthday present, you better already have your roofing guy. I can say that, by the way, because that actually happened to me. You don't want to be opening the phone book, Googling in your phone. You already want to know when that stuff has happened, who you're going to have to solve your problems. We know who it should be. It's Justin Cunningham at Top Local Roofing. I've told you, save this number in your phone, 801-839-4501. You've heard me talking about why you should have Top Local Roofing be your roofing guy. But you know what? Sometimes you need to hear from the man himself. Justin Cunningham, kind enough to join us here in studio. He's going to be here all day talking about what they've got going on. Justin, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing great, Sean. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. It's good to have you in here. Before we get into any of the business stuff, all right, the way that we made the connection, one of our mutual friends put us together, former Ute Brad Clifford, for any of you out there, one-time great tight end at the University of Utah, who has now transitioned into the grappling world along with another former Ute, great Ute, Matt Martinez, right? A bunch of those guys are down there. And he's like, look, this guy, he's a great roofer, but also he's a great grappler. And I need to know, roofing's a hard job.
Yes.
It's like a carry the shingles up the ladder, kind of like you got to be tough. why do you then choose the toughest, most grueling hobby you could possibly have to blow off steam when you've already been blowing off steam all day? Why are roofers and grappling something that go together? Because one of my great training partners, Jeremy Peterson, also was in your world, was a roofer for a long time. Why does this work?
I don't know. I think it's just kind of like meditation, a way to relax, believe it or not. I mean, you know this with training. Yeah, it's just like a way to kind of unwind.
All right, well, I guess. If I'm having a long, hard day of work, I'm probably not unwinding with grappling, but when I'm sitting here on my butt all day, then I can justify why I want to go grapple. In any case, I think this is a good endorsement for why people should call you, because, like, you're a hardworking guy, and you're so hardworking that even your hobbies are hard work. But neither here nor there. Top Local Roofing, when folks are thinking of their roof, right? Most of us don't know how much longer our roof has. Most of us don't know whether my roof versus the snow and the wind and the ice and the rain, whether it's doing a good job. How do I know when the right time to call Top Local Roofing is?
I feel like anytime you're going out front, you see like granules starting to come off your roof. You see any type of wind damage. If your house is more than 20 years old, typically it's nearing the end of its life. So that's like for us to come out and do an inspection, we can kind of tell you exactly what your roof's condition is, problems that you can potentially expect, and give you solutions to fix that.
The other thing that we always get into with folks who, you talk about home improvement projects, right? You don't want to call when it's already time to get it fixed, because that means something bad already happened. And as much as you guys in the business world and in the trade world try to get to everyone as quickly as possible, you're busy, right? So how far out, if I'm like, you know what, I'm listening to Justin on the Sean O'Connell show, I'm seeing the granules coming off the roof, I'm seeing the corners of a couple of these shingles looking in bad shape, I better get them out here. How long between that phone call and when you could have a new roof on that house?
Typically within a week or two.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
That's a quick turnaround.
It depends on, there are a couple of things to take into consideration, like if your roof does qualify for what we call storm restoration that we do through insurance. Those can take a little bit longer, but typically if it's just like a retail deal, we can get you on in about a week.
How often are the insurance companies involved with the new roof?
It just depends, like what they consider acts of God, like wind, hail, ice damming, those types of things. But that's entirely up to the homeowner if that's a route they want to take. They don't have to take it.
Sure.
But I mean, if they can get a roof to, for very low cost, because it is an expensive item, if they can get it for, a fraction of the price, of course, we'll always give them that option.
Well, about that expense part, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone's always looking for the best option. Most folks don't have 40 grand sitting around. Mm-hmm. So financing is available?
Yes. We use Hearth Financing, a great company for us to work with and the homeowner. They have very competitive rates, and I believe there is no prepayment penalties as well.
Nice. 801-839-4501. That's how you get a hold of Justin Cunningham and Top Local Roofing. And the real reason I wanted to have you come in and talk about it today is because when we're offering a big discount like this, sometimes I'm like, I don't know, is this a real deal? Or we got to get the actual person offering it to come in. Spring offer this month from Top Local Roofing. Make sure this is not a typo. 50% off high-quality gutter systems with the purchase of a new roof.
Yes, and actually today we're offering, with the purchase of a free roof today and today only, we're going to give you a full free rain gutter system with the purchase of a roof. Okay,
so if you call today, 801-839-4501, you get on the books, you get on the schedule, free gutters, the whole gutter system with the roof. Mm-hmm. You get a new roof, you get free gutters.
Yep. Even if you call and just set up your inspection today, we're still going to honor that, even if if the homeowner isn't available for us to get on the roof till the next week, we'll still honor it as long as they call today.
Get on the books right now, 801-839-4501. Get you a new roof and get free gutters. That is a massive savings, I can tell you, because I just did this a few years ago, and When you write that roofing check, you're just like, whew, this is a tough one. And it's like, oh, but I'm also going to need to get new gutters. You can't slap the nasty old gutters back on with the new roof. It just doesn't work.
It's true. Yeah.
Like, nobody does it that way. That's anyway. Free gutters with the purchase of a roof from Top Local Roofing and Justin Cunningham, 801-839-4501. He'll be checking in throughout the show today. Thanks for being here. We got to take a quick one here. Carly Dockendorf, Red Rocks head coach, joins us next ahead of the national championships in NCAA gymnastics. Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Welcome back to the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM, home of the Utes. One of Utah's great programs getting geared up for nationals. Thursday, Utah will be back on the floor, back on the beam, back on the uneven bars, competing for a national championship. The 49th straight year that the Red Rocks have qualified for nationals. They stand alone in having that streak extend so long. And Carly Dockendorf, Red Rocks head coach, is kind enough to join us for a few minutes here on the show. Coach, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on here.
So as you're gearing up for, and we ask this question when we talk about postseason in every sport, do you change anything knowing the bumps and bruises have accumulated, knowing exactly how nasty this grind is for your competitors, for your women this whole season, and now you're getting down to the real brass tacks, to the most important moments of the season? Do you change anything? Do you lighten the load at all to make them fresher? Do you increase it because you know that once this thing is over, they're going to get a longer rest? Does anything change about the practice routine?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I would say that we definitely kind of lighten up a little bit on the volume just to keep their bodies fresh and their minds feeling good. Shorter practices. At this point, we're a lot more efficient, as we should be, than earlier in the year. So shouldn't be taking as many turns to get it the way that we need to get it. But really right now it's just about keeping everyone's confidence high and their belief where it needs to be, and just, pulling together as a team in these final days.
And how do you do that, Coach? I mean, I know that there's so much research now into sports psychology, and I'm sure you have sports psychologists actually available to any of your competitors if they need it. But, like, how do you make sure not only that the physical execution is where it needs to be, but that the belief in that ability is where it needs to be? Because in gymnastics, for those of us who are just novice fans of it, like, it just the margin for error is so ridiculously slim, and the difference between a national championship and not even qualifying, although you guys have done that already, it's not a huge leap. So how do you make sure these women are confident right now?
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of it goes back to, relying on the work that we've put in all year. That's something we talked about since the beginning of the year was, the more work we put in, it's like an investment, and then when it's time to cash in, you'll have, more to come out of it. And these women have put in so much work, and I really feel like they can feel that, and that just builds that confidence, knowing that they've done everything they possibly could to put them in the prime position to be their best this week when it counts the most. And then on top of it, we had a team dinner the other night, and we watched Miracle, nothing like an inspirational movie going into nationals. So those are kind of some of the little things that we do to just keep them together as a team and keep their confidence where it needs to be.
So as we're talking about that streak, and we've been talking about it since it became official that you qualified for nationals for the 49th straight time. The way I envision it, right, is when you're taking over as a head coach of this program, that's the expectation. It's been the expectation that has been met, by the way, by all of your predecessors, basically. And you're totally aware of that, having been part of the program before you took over as head coach. So when it's now your turn to continue the streak, I mean, is there like some hidden room in the basement of the Huntsman with like only you get the key and you go in there and it's just like all the glory of the gymnasts of the past are speaking to you? I mean, what is it like knowing that now it is your responsibility to make sure you carry that mantle forward?
Yeah, it's you definitely know what you're signing up for. That's for sure. There's no hidden secrets. You don't get here and then someone tells you that the expectation is that we make it to nationals every year. That is put out there, and every athlete and every staff member that's a part of this program understands that expectation, and we take it with great pride. I mean, what an honor to be a part of a program where that is the expectation, because of all the people that have come before you, athletes, coaches, staff members. I mean, everybody worked to that same level of expectation to keep this program as a premier program that went to nationals every single year. So it's definitely something that we work for all year. And it's not something we take lightly. We take it with, great honor. And it's definitely the meet that we're all happy once it's over. It's like this big sigh of relief. Okay, we did it again. But, 49 years straight, I don't know if that record will ever get broken by another program. It's so long, and the tradition is just so rich. At some point, I'm sure it will end. All good things come to an end at some point, but not this year. It definitely wasn't this year.
Red Rocks head coach Carly Dockendorf, my guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show. Utah getting geared up to compete in the national championship meets Thursday, and if you advance past Thursday, it'll be Saturday. So what's it going to take? What's the score going to have to be to stand atop the podium in 2025?
I mean, every team that there is going to be there is just so good. The competition definitely doesn't get any easier every year that we're here. And we definitely have the routines and the talent. And for us, it really is going to be about wanting it more than any other team. We're going to have to believe a little bit more. We're going to have to dig a little bit deeper. We're definitely not the favorites going in, nor have we been for years and years. So the underdog mentality of just coming with a little more aggression, a little more determination, and a little more fight, that's what's going to take. And at the end of the day, just belief that we can make it happen.
Is it going to be last year was what, 198-2 for LSU?
Mhm.
Is it going to be 198 plus in 2025? You think, Coach?
You never know. This year, the scoring has been really inconsistent throughout the year. Sometimes scores were high, sometimes they were low. It'll be interesting to see what the judging panel is like, what kind of scores will be given out. There's 6 judges at the national championships, which is different throughout the year. There's only 2 on each event. Then you get to 4 at the regional championships and conference. And when you get to nationals, you get 6. So you get the highest score gets tossed out, the lowest score gets tossed out. And so you really kind of get the average of the 4 remaining judges. So it could take a 198, could be a high 197. You just really don't know what the scoring will look like. But at the end of the day, it's going to have to be a big number.
So that brings us to one of my ultimate gripes with certain sports and certainly with gymnastics, because I have no real understanding of what it takes to be elite in gymnastics. All I know is that when I watch it, I know that very few members of the human population can do what elite gymnasts are asked to do. And I always think, as I'm watching and, you see a score that is unexpectedly low, maybe you feel this way when a score is unexpectedly high for someone you didn't think deserved it. But I'm like, okay, those judges that are sitting there, I know that they're educated. I know they take the job very, very seriously. But I'm like, that person can't do this. And they're telling, there's a deduction. Oh, there's another deduction. And it drives me insane because in all other elite sports, or most other elite sports, like either the ball goes in the hoop or it goes in the net or you get it across the end zone line. And like the referees still cause problems, but it's not the opinion of somebody that decides who gets a gold medal or who gets a national championship. It drives me crazy that there's not a better system for this, but is the system adequate in your mind, Coach?
I mean, it's a subjective sport, right? So it's always going to be like that. They're trying to find new ways to take out some of the the emotional decisions behind it. But at the end of the day, these are people that are judging. These are moms, they're grandmas, they're students, like whoever they are, they're people at the end of the day, and so they're going to have a personal opinion. They're each looking for something different, and so our job is to be so undeniably good that they don't have a choice but to give us the score that we deserve.
Talk to me about, Grace McCallum and Jaden Rucker and some of these gals that are, their time left with Utah Gymnastics is short. And obviously you've been around their development and things like that, and knowing that this might be the last ride. How emotional is that for you and for them?
Yeah, I mean, every year, we get a new group of freshmen, and we're just so blessed to be able to be with them for 4 years and watch them not just develop as gymnasts, but also as people, and to be a small part of their journey to help set them up for their next chapter of life and help them be prepared to give back to the world around us. And I just can't say enough about these women that are going to be graduating on. They are more than equipped to go out and handle whatever life's going to throw at them beyond the gymnastics floor. But Grace's journey arrived after being here, winning a medal at the Olympics, a silver medal at the Olympics, and spent a few years trying to uphold the standard she felt like the public was looking for. This perception of perfection in what she did, and it really kind of held her back from just being the best that she could be, because she was spending so much time worrying about what people were thinking and not just enjoying the process and celebrating who she was. And this is the first year that she really has kind of let go of people's expectations and just enjoyed this final chapter of sport that has been her entire life. And, will continue to be on a big part of her life. She's going to be back next year as our student coach. So we're really looking forward to that. I know our team's looking forward to that. Our incoming freshmen are looking forward to having her as a mentor. So that's going to be really exciting. But she's got a big opportunity this week, and she knows that. And, she's got a great chance of going for that all-around title and helping this team lead us to the championship that we haven't won yet. But Jaylene Gilstrap, just the artistry. We're going to miss, obviously, her on multiple events, and just her leadership is going to be huge. And same with Emily Morgan. She's going to, just give it her all this last week, and we'll move on into a world of finance and business. And Jaden Rucker is going to continue on as a coach. He's going to move back home and continue to inspire the next generation of hopefully future Red Rocks.
Coach, how insulated is college gymnastics right now from the changes that are happening everywhere else with transfer portal, NIL stuff? It doesn't feel like it's quite as much of a Wild West in college gymnastics, but I'm not paying close attention to it every single day. So you tell me, how insulated are you, and how much is it actually affecting college gymnastics?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely changing the landscape for college gymnastics, but not nearly impacting us at the same level as the basketballs and footballs. Two things I see a significant difference. Obviously, there's big money in both of those sports. And, for basketball and football, they're using college as a platform to go pro, whereas gymnastics, that's just not the case. This is typically their last 4 years. And so, that's a big difference for us. And the other big difference that I've seen with NIL and the changing landscape is that it's actually creating more opportunity for our elite and national team members to come and participate in college gymnastics. And because of that, there's been many Olympians now doing college, which we would never have seen before in our sport, because they would have had to have, chosen one or the other. And now with the opportunities, financially that college is offering, they can do both. And because of that, I think it's elevated the level of collegiate gymnastics across the country, and it's made it much more exciting to watch. And I think our viewership has gone up because of the quality of athletes we are continuing to add to this college program.
All right, this will be the last question, then I'll let you go. This is just for my own curiosity. What are the really fun and cool things that you see in a sport that is largely individualized at the college level? Is you watch these routines, the floor routines especially, and everybody on the team knows everyone else's choreography.
Yeah.
Like, it's not your routine. You don't have to know it. Everybody knows it. And they kind of they're doing it along as they watch and celebrating when they know that you stick a landing and whatever. Do you know every single motion, every single movement, every single everything that all the teammates seem to know? And how hard is it to resist the urge to be, as a coach, standing there doing it alongside everyone else if you do know it all?
Well, I definitely don't know them all. And sometimes I catch myself pretending like I do, and then I realize that I'm not even close to doing the same move that they're doing. So it's easy for me to restrain because I'm just making a fool of myself. And I'd rather just clap and cheer real loud, and I get pretty excited. But the dance moves, I'm going to leave for them because I'm good.
I'm amazed every time we go and we take that in. And it's not just the Red Rocks. It's every team, right? And you're just like, how do you know this? This is not your thing that you have to know. How do you know it? But it seems like it must just be gymnastics culture.
It is. Well, and it's a fun part of being part of a team, and not something that they get in their club days, because some of them could be the only, level 10 at their gym, and now they've got a whole team of them. So I think it's really fun for them to be able to be a part of each routine for each event.
Well, Coach, thanks so much for your time today. Obviously, good luck to you and all your gals as you compete for a national championship. We're the home of the Utes. Everyone here who has any association with Utah athletics, we're so incredibly proud of the Red Rocks, and thanks for continuing that legacy. It's really something special.
Oh, thank you so much. And we feel so lucky to have the community of support that we do in Salt Lake City. So thank you.
That's Carly Dockendorf, head gymnastics coach at the University of Utah. 49 straight years of national championships qualification. It's a very tough field. As she said, Utah is not expected to win a national championship this year. It's been 30 years since they took it all home. but maybe, just maybe. And by the way, you have to get there in order to win it first. So Thursday at 7 on ESPN2. And after that, it'll be Saturday. That's going to be on ABC. The Final Four of the championships will be Saturday afternoon on ABC. So big thanks to Carly Dockendorf for joining us. ESPN 792.1 FM, we've got our Festival of Tees going on, powered by the Utah Golf Association. We're giving away free rounds of golf to the best courses in the state. I heard Scott Mitchell on Down and Dirty giving away some rounds, some golf. We'll give away some at the end of the show today in our final segment on the Sean O'Connell Show. Spence Checketts, 2 to 6. He will be giving away golf, courtesy of the Festival of Tees and the Utah Golf Association. So make sure you're tuned in all day long. All right. We all owe a debt of gratitude. I never thought I would say this. We all owe a debt of gratitude to the Tennessee Volunteers and to their coach, Josh Heupel. And I'll tell you why next. It's ESPN 700, 92.1 FM, proud part of Utah's ESPN radio network.
now 4. Champagne 3. Down to 1 with 5 seconds to go.
And if you're the Wizards, you want to invite the pass.
Christopher over and back. Oh, a costly error by Josh Christopher will give the Wizards the basketball and a chance to win it. Champagne the trigger. Wizards going for the win. Carrington, 1 second left. Bob, inside, off the glass. Oh! Yes! Bob Carrington ends the season with a game winner off glass. Let's go home.
Chris Miller on that call, courtesy of the Monumental Sports Network. Bub Carrington, game winner for the Wizards on the final day of the regular season. And that, of course, is exactly what the Utah Jazz wanted to see happen. Woo, baby. Worst team in the NBA. Yay.
I may have let out an audible yes from downstairs watching it on TV in between Masters coverage. Not watching the Wizards game, it wasn't on national TV, but following along with it as I was watching the Masters. Yeah.
Okay.
Might have startled the wife upstairs a little bit.
All right. Scott Mitchell is going to join us to start off hour number 2. Lots to talk about with him. In fact, look, I love my PFL job, but I was a little bit bothered that I didn't have an opportunity to be on the show late last week because of the conflict, because the stuff happening with Tennessee football and Nico Iamaleava, their starting quarterback the last couple of seasons, a guy that they offered record-setting NIL opportunities to coming out of high school, the fact that that guy was holding out was driving me insane. And I was very concerned that you were going to get something where Tennessee realized the timeline is short, that it's not an ideal world where, you're coming out of spring ball and you're like, we don't know. We got to be good next year. I mean, you could reasonably make a case that the panic reaction is the reaction that most teams are going to have there, and they didn't. And I got to give a lot of credit. I don't have any love for the Tennessee Volunteers athletic department, football program, whatever. I got to give a huge amount of credit to Josh Heupel and every one of the decision makers at Tennessee for saying, no, we're not going to be held hostage. The report is, and you've all seen the reports, the report is that Nico and his camp want $4 million to be the starting quarterback for Tennessee next year. And he held out like he was a professional quarterback in a contract negotiation. And they said, all right, you know what? We're going to move on. Have fun in the transfer portal. And he will. He'll go somewhere. He'll land somewhere. He'll be fine in the transfer portal. But I applaud Tennessee for not being willing to be the team, to be the coach in Josh Heupel's case, that says, you know what? We are going to set this precedent. Somebody's going to, at some point, set the precedent where their quarterback or their running back or their elite wide receiver or their best defensive player holds out like they're an NFL player, and some team's going to cave, and they're going to pay. But for Tennessee to say, no, man, you're not going to do that, I applaud them, because maybe they'll be better at the quarterback position next year, but maybe not. Probably not, honestly.
It reminds you a little bit of what we were hearing about the Cam Calhoun situation.
Yeah.
Where he already had a deal in place. He came back and said, no, after thinking about it for 5 minutes, I decided I want more. And Utah said, we don't need 5 minutes. You're not getting more.
By
this
the way,
was the deal.
By the way, if the reports were correct for Nico coming out of high school, he was a 17-year-old junior when he signed or when he committed to Tennessee. And the report then was Tennessee's going to pay you $8 million. Can you imagine being 17 and being told, you come play for us for 4 years? We're going to give you $2 million a year. I don't even blame the kid. His brain got ruined by that moment, probably. And anyway, he was asking for more. They said, no, man, you're not getting more. He had 19 touchdowns and 5 interceptions to go with 2,600 passing yards last year. There are other quarterbacks in the country that are better. There are not that many that are better than him. But Tennessee said, no, we're not playing this game, and I applaud them for that. Anyway, we'll get to that. We'll get to more of that with Scott Mitchell here in just a minute. But Justin Cunningham is here in studio with us talking about his company, a company that you should already have saved in your phone as your roofing guy. Top Local Roofing, 801-839-4501. I know you don't think you need it yet, but you're going to want to know who you're calling when you do need it. He told us the last time he sat down with us that right now, if you call today, 801-839-4501, you purchase a roof, you get on the schedule for a roof replacement, you're going to get free gutter system to go along with that. And then, Justin, as you were walking out, you said, yeah, our gutters are a little different. They're a little better. You do a seamless gutter system. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yep,
what does that
seamless.
mean, though? Like, explain it to me like I'm 5.
Okay, so you literally don't see a seam in the gutter. It just runs across. It's one piece, goes across all your eaves, and yeah, you don't even see a seam in them.
But how? Oh, like I have a very large house. No, but like my house is wide and narrow, or wide and not deep. What's the whatever shallow?
Shallow.
Right. I got a wide, shallow house, so I got a long I got a big run across the front of my house. No seam.
No seams. Nope. We have a gutter machine that can run gutters as long as we want them.
Wow.
Even the downspouts. So yeah, you will not see a seam in those gutters.
That's amazing.
Yep. It's great too because on gutters that have seams, they often leak eventually. You have to hop up there, throw caulking in them, and these you will not have that problem.
I have that exact problem. There's a downspout that comes off the back of my house, which is the south facing. It's where the sun always hits. The snow melts there first, right? And there's this downspout that's just got a little leak. It's a drip, and that drip goes right down onto the deck, and then that water freezes again, and now you get this little ice patch on the deck. So these eliminate that problem.
They eliminate the problem.
All right. I might need to call you and
Let's do it.
see about these seamless gutters. Even though my gutters are new, if you're listening, last company who installed my gutters, you know I'm talking to you. I shouldn't have that problem. You should have done the seamless gutters. I asked you before, like, when do you know that it's time? What is the biggest problem that tears up shingles and gutters and roofs in a Utah winter, like the one we're just coming out of? What is the thing that usually creates a need for a new roof?
Well, we do go from really extreme cold temperatures to very hot temperatures. And in Utah and other states, but specifically in Utah, it creates like a lot of contracting and expanding, which over time starts to loosen up seams, loosen up nails, definitely loosens up granules. And look, if your roof is over 20 years old, it is time for an inspection. You know, and all we're wanting to do is just hop up there, take a look at it, give you some options that you can sit and think about, and hopefully eventually use our company to replace your roof.
I'm telling you, Top Local Roofing, they can do it all. And I live up in the Avs, and there's a lot of homes with like the real shallow pitch, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a question. Some people have the membrane roof, some people have the metal roof, some people have the shingles or traditional asphalt singles. You can do it all, right?
We can do all roofing.
And more importantly, I don't know which one belongs on my rooftop. Most of us are not contractors. Most of us are not roofers, right? And I don't know if my pitch is the right degree to have a membrane or to have shingles or whatever. I know that the addition of the deck on the back, we had to do membrane because it's a little bit flatter, right? That stuff, I don't know off the top of my head. You have all that knowledge.
Yep, and that's typically a 312 and under needs metal or membrane. But I mean, we see it all the time. We'll hop up on roofs. We'll see a pitch that's under a 312 and it has shingles on it, and it's just an ice dam situation waiting to happen. Yeah.
So don't count on yourself to have the expertise. Call Justin Cunningham. Call Top Local Roofing, 801-839-4501. They'll come check it out for you. They'll tell you the situation you're in, the situation that, the solution for whatever problems might be developing. And if you take advantage today, right now, 801-839-4501, you end up getting on the schedule today, and you end up getting that new roof, free gutter system that just so happens to be a seamless gutter system that doesn't leak the way that my gutters leak. So take advantage of it today. Justin, you're the man.
All right, thanks, Sean.
He'll be checking in throughout the show today. We're going to take a quick one here. Hour number 2 starts with Scott Mitchell And we will be talking with Scott Mitchell about this Nico Iamaleava situation, about a quarterback in college football holding out and the team standing pat. Utah's number one sports talk, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Just talking glory days with Justin Cunningham here, you know? Just the glory days of fighting. Anyway. We touched on this in the hot lunch. Nico Iamaleava, the Tennessee quarterback, who I want to make it clear. This is a mistake you make when you're 21 years old. This is one of those things. mistake is probably too strong of a term for it, honestly, because the way it's playing out right now, it appears that Tennessee has said, we are not playing this game with you. Have fun in the transfer portal. And the money that Nico is asking for, there's basically 5 schools in the country that are willing to compete on that front, that financial front. We're talking Oregon, who might need a little bit of help at quarterback. We're talking Ohio State. We're talking Alabama. Texas. Texas isn't paying you $4 million. They're already paying their guy $4 or $5 million. Okay? So what has happened here is a decision-making process for 2 prominent parties. One, a very talented, at one time highly recruited player who is now going back to being presumably a highly recruited player. But the public information is there's a $4 million price tag attached to his interest. Coming out of high school, it was a $2 million price tag. And you thought that was outrageous. Now apparently it's up to $4 million. And there are just not that many programs who are equipped or willing or ready to pay that. So he's narrowed the scope. If he sticks to that number, he's narrowed the scope pretty significantly on who will be competing for his services, if anyone is competing for his services. Very few people are better equipped to talk about what it's like to be a quarterback with options. Scott Mitchell joins us here on the Sean O'Connell Show. He is the host of the Down and Dirty right here on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. He also happens to be a longtime NFL veteran, one-time Utah football great. Scott, welcome back to the show. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm doing so wonderful, Sean. How are you today?
I'm doing all right. I know you already touched on this when you were hosting the show for me on Thursday and Friday, and it might be redundant for you, but I want to pick your brain. I want to get into this. The Tennessee quarterback, Nico Iamaleava, he is apparently headed to the transfer portal because the holdout situation did not work the way he wanted it to. And Tennessee and Josh Heupel appear to have made a decision. Rather than being held hostage, they are moving on. And we'll just start there. What are your thoughts, your general thoughts on this being the decision for Tennessee?
What's shocking to me is no one cares. Tennessee doesn't care. The quarterback doesn't care. And I believe the reason they don't care is because we have 10 other guys that we can probably have some conversations with. We're probably having those conversations. The conversations are probably ongoing. There's no way that these guys are just going on a whim, I'll just go out in the transfer portal. They have to know something. And if you're a good program, because I've thought a lot about this, if you're a good program, you have coaches that are constantly staying in communication with players they've recruited. If you take the state of Utah here, Utah is recruited by every major conference in the country. And every player from the state of Utah has had every school reach out to them and create some form of communication. So every player, just take Isaac Wilson. Isaac Wilson probably has the phone number of every football program in America. And it's easy to get the numbers because these players are so exposed to camps and clinics and, they go to they have the all poly camp here in Utah, or these players go and they get trained by some, like a John Beck in California, or they go do 7-on-7 leagues, in Arizona and California and Nevada and Southern Utah and all these coaches are around. So all the coach has to do is just stay in contact with the player even when they don't go to their school. Hey, just and they just send a text message. So what I believe is happening, all these coaches around the country are still recruiting players who are already at another school. And the recruiting is just a simple, hey, just staying in touch, hope things are going great for you. Like they're not going, hey, come, and then the player reaches out and goes, it sucks here. I hate it. I want to leave. I hate Tennessee. They make me sing Rocky Top. I don't like Josh Heupel because he's left-handed. They have, and I'm sure there's constant communication going on with these players all the time, even if they are at a school. So the player, like Nico, knows, yeah, I can hold out. I can leave Tennessee because I got 10 teams right now that I'm talking to. And Tennessee goes, fine, go. because we got 10 quarterbacks that we're talking to that we're happy to replace you with. Shoot, maybe Tennessee goes, yeah, Nico's not really that good. We've had him in our program. Fine, he leaves. We don't care. You know, it doesn't matter. So I think that's what college football recruiting is now. It's a bunch of text messages by some coaches in the background. I can only imagine Coach Whittingham or Coach Sataki, someone having their phone right now, and I'm sure it's a recruiting department, and I'm sure he's just sending out text messages just to, hey, hope you're having a happy Monday. You know, nothing nefarious, nothing like trying to recruit, just being supportive, staying in touch with players you've recruited in the past. I'm sure they have to be sending those messages. There's no way. You'd be foolish, I guess, is a better way to say it. You'd be foolish if you're not communicating in a non-rule breaking way with players, regardless of what school they're at right now, knowing that they could leave at the drop of a hat.
It's disgusting to me how close this conversation is to what, when I talk to people like my young brother-in-law, who's still single and in the dating world and like on the apps and stuff like that, everyone is just out there keeping the options open. And that's what you have to do now. I don't dispute any of what you're saying, Scott. Like, you're absolutely right. If you're a coach, you're not doing the right thing if you're not making sure that you have plan B, C, D, E, F. If you're a player, you're not doing the right thing for yourself probably if you don't have plan B, C, D, E, F in place. And for this moment and this inflection point, as it's being called in college football in particular, you got a guy who his camp has made available the number they're looking for, or Tennessee has made available the number they're looking for. He was making roughly $2 million. Now he wants $4 million. This is a guy who threw for 19 touchdown passes, which is great. It's good. 63%. It's fine. This is not one of the elite quarterbacks in college football. Is he promising? Absolutely. Is he good? Is he talented? Does he have physical tools? Is he 6'6"? All these things are in his favor. But you just said, and I don't disagree, he's got 10 other teams he can talk to. Is anyone going to pay this kid $4 million to come play for him? His numbers weren't stellar.
You know, that's, I guess, a silver lining in all of this because, you know, you're not stuck with a guy for 4 years if he doesn't pan out. You can be like, I mean, you could be going through spring football and maybe you sign a guy and you have him in spring football and you go, this guy's terrible. We made a mistake here. And you're not stuck with it. You know, you can just go, yep, thanks, but no thanks. See you later. And it's a mistake. In some regards, that could be a good thing, you know, especially these coaches that go, you know, I'm going to get fired if I don't put a good product on the field. And if I, you know, and so much in the past it was all about recruiting, and it still is. But, man, you can turn things around in a quick way if they don't work out. So I don't know that it's necessarily a bad thing. I think what schools, I envision it like this, and I don't know this. This is just speculation. I mean, I know that they put a budget together, so they go, you know, like this new settlement, $20.5 million. So there's your budget, and they're gonna rank every position and go, we're gonna spend X dollars on quarterback, X dollars on line. You know, every position gets a budget to it. And then I'm sure they just have their list of guys in the portal and what they think they can get them for. And they just go, let's see if we can get this guy and let's see if we can fit him in our budget like this. And I read the article about Texas Tech and how they went about this and how they said, if you're not proactive before the transfer portal window comes open, like you're missing the boat. Like you're you know, so you can get a player in your system and maybe they suck and they don't plan out, or maybe you get a bargain guy that, you know, you're winning on. But regardless, if a player doesn't pan out or they're not that good, you can always get rid of them. Now, there's probably someone stupid enough, you know, because there always is someone stupid enough. They just have dumb money. They just go, oh, I can't believe you didn't like Nico. He's amazing. We have him rated, you know, super high. Yeah, we'll pay him $4 million because because maybe their budget's different. I'm sure the player would not leave unless he knew that he had something better. You would be foolish as a player not to do that. And I guarantee you, these players are not short on folks talking to them, just from not like, hey, we want you to come to our program, but just staying in touch with these players. And so he knows, look, I got something out there, and then maybe the conversation turns into a burner phone. I mean, really, where it can't be traced. So he's having conversations that are offline that get into dollar amounts. And again, this is all speculation on my part, but man, this has been going on for a long time. Cheating in college football, paying players. This is not something new. This is not something that started with NIL. It's been going on for a long time, and people are good at doing it and not getting caught. And now it's just a whole different ballgame. But yeah, player can have no problem getting money that he wants if he's the top player like Nico is.
Scott Mitchell for another couple minutes here on the Sean O'Connell Show. Let's shift the focus to Utah football, who's wrapping up their spring camp. The 22 Forever spring football game is coming up on Saturday, and we'll get an opportunity, the average fan will get an opportunity to go out there and see some version of this Jason Beck offense. I don't think you're going to see a bunch of crazy stuff. I don't think you're going to see any secrets or trick plays or anything, but you'll get an opportunity to watch your new quarterback, Devin Dampier, scramble around and throw it around the yard a little bit. He is appearing on preseason lists, top quarterbacks in the country. I saw one, I think, from CBS Sports today, has him as the number 9 overall quarterback returning to college football. What would it mean for the Utes and this offense if he is a top 10 QB in all of college football?
Well, if you listen to Morgan Scalley say, I hope you can trust us now to know that we're going to put a quality defense on the field pretty much every year. Like, we've just been doing it long enough. We've got it dialed in. We know the components we have to plug in. We know our system, and we know where these players fit. And he does. I think Utah is going to have a very, very solid defense this year, maybe better than a year ago. So then the question is this, well, if you scored 10 more points a game last year, you would have won all of your games except for one, and that was Colorado. And so you do that. If you can find a way to get 10 more points a game, you're going to win probably all of your games or almost all of them. You're going to put yourself in the Big 12 championship. And does the quarterback do that? Absolutely. Absolutely. If I was a betting man, I would bet that Devin Dampier could create 10 more points a game on offense than what Utah did a year ago. And it's all because he might be a true representation of a dual threat quarterback. He's probably more of a runner than he is a thrower. And he's going to have better receivers. Now he's going to be playing better competition, going to have a better offensive line. He's going to have a better team around him than he had at New Mexico. And will he be able to give you 10 more points? I absolutely think so. So, yeah, he's going to be a huge part of what happens at Utah. And what I like about him so far, and it's one of the things that I liked about him that came across in interviews and how he reacted, that he's this outward-facing talent. He wants to be the guy. He likes the limelight. And you're seeing that where he's already established. He's the number one guy, and everyone believes it. And you hear these players are buying into his leadership and his abilities, and so there's a confidence that's brewing with him that before he stepped on the field, that everyone around him has a greater hope. Okay, we can do well, and that's an impact beyond his running or throwing ability. It's that leadership ability. It's that, and Cam Rising had that same thing, and having that confidence just gives everyone else that hope and chance that you can win. And I say 10 points conservatively. I think it's going to be more like 14, 17 points more a game in all reality. But yeah, he's he's a guy that understands the system, and he's certainly got talent. And I think he's gotten better than he even was a year ago.
All right, Scott, always appreciate your thoughts, and have a great call on the Sean O'Connell show once again this week, and then, of course, on Saturday for the spring game.
Yeah, this will be a fun week, and one of the things I appreciate about Coach Whittingham is he's not afraid to have spring football games, and it'll be important actually for this offense more than anything to get out there and play in a live situation, and that there's going to be a lot of value and a lot of assessment, because that's the key for Jason Beck is what do I have, and he's going to get a better feel for that after the end of this week.
Scott Mitchell will be there. I will be there. You should be there as well. 22 Forever spring game. Obviously, proceeds from that game go towards the scholarship fund established in the name of two players who both wore 22, Ty Jordan, Aaron Lowe. So get out there on Saturday. It's supposed to be sunny and about 60 degrees. We can't complain about that kind of weather. Thanks, Scott.
You got it. Thank you.
Scott Mitchell, former Utah quarterback, longtime NFL veteran, and a guy with, I think some pretty realistic perspective on that situation with a college football quarterback holdout. I will not get used to saying those words. Very strange. Top Local Roofing, Justin Cunningham hanging out with us here today. First of all, you've been down to the station. How many times have you been on radio before? You're sort of a natural.
This is my first time.
All right. Well, don't take my job. I don't want to take your job. You can't take my job. All right. Yeah. Top Local Roofing. How long have you been in business now?
Since 2019, so about 6 years.
Okay. And you've been in the roofing business. You've been in, you've seen so many of these Utah winters. The snowiest Utah winter on record was just a couple years ago. Mm-hmm. Did that increase the roofing problems people had that next spring and summer?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All winter long and pretty much all spring long. It was incredible.
Yeah, that was a wild one. And look, we had a nice wet winter again. Thank goodness. We always need the water. So the ice dams is something we've talked about a lot, right? How do you know when the ice dam has become too much a problem? How do you know if maybe you need your roofer to come out and put on some heat tape so it doesn't become a problem?
Yeah, so definitely anywhere where you see shingles starting to lift, like up against sidewalls. I don't know if your listeners know what sidewalls are, but
what's a sidewall?
It's just any wall that's going down. So you'll have like roof pitches that meet.
Yeah,
and then they'll have a wall that goes down the side of it. So basically, that's what's considered a sidewall.
Okay,
those are areas that you see most ice damming happen, and as we were talking about earlier. Low pitch roofs always have ice damming.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So if you have any of these, if you're listening to that and you're like, hey, you know what? I got a couple of those situations in my roof. 801-839-4501. Don't get up there yourself. You don't have to do it. All right. Mm-mm. Top Local Roofing will take care of it for you. You'll go out, like, people don't need to pay you to come out, give you an estimate and just take a look at the roof.
Yeah. And definitely we don't want listeners feeling intimidated about calling in and having us come and look at a roof. We're definitely not like pushy people. We know, us as homeowners, a lot of us that work for my company are homeowners. We understand like the value of just knowing what's going on with your house and just having options, so don't feel intimidated. We're there to just basically tell you what's going on and give you some simple options.
I've been saying since you came on as a partner of the show, though, it's very important with the roof to be proactive because we bought our house, right, end of 2019, and it needed a remodel, and we were like, okay, the roof was not in ideal shape. It was like, okay, we could get a few more years out of this roof, so that's not an expense I want to put in now because I'm putting in new floors, I'm painting the thing, we're doing new countertops, right? So, of course, the part of your house that you look at and pay attention to every single day is inside the house, right? And so we're, put a bunch of time, effort, money into the remodel. Didn't think much about the roof until a couple winters ago, water starts running down onto the new wood floors. Water starts running down through a light fixture onto this leather chair that I just bought my wife for her birthday. And I was just like, now what in the bleep is going on here? You don't want it to be at that point before you make the phone call.
No, because then you open up a whole new can of worms. Potential mold mitigation. I've seen it all. I've seen it all.
Which is why I like the slogan, right? For Top Local Roofing, trust Top Local Roofing with everything under the roof, because that's what actually matters to us. Yes, all of us want, a nice looking roof and proper home value and all that kind of thing. But what we really care about, what really matters to us, is all the stuff that the roof is keeping that water and that snow and that ice off of.
Yeah, and protection of your family, your kids, your wife. Mold can create a lot of unneeded issues.
For sure.
Issues, for sure.
Yeah, so don't let it get to the point where the water's actually coming through. And I know it's a beautiful, nice day right now, not a cloud in the sky. We live in Utah. You know that 20 miles or 20 minutes and you got a different weather situation. So there's going to be the spring thunderstorms. There's going to be the wind. There's going to be the weather. Make sure to call Top Local Roofing before any of that sets in, 801-839-4501. And I have to keep stressing this. If you call today, free gutters with the purchase of a new roof. The gutter system will come with the roof. No added cost, no extra, no hidden, we threw it in there as an expense somewhere else. You're hooking us up with free gutters for the new roofs.
Yes, sir. Free gutters today and today only.
801-839-4501. They don't have to put the roof in today. You just have to get on the schedule today. Justin Cunningham and Top Local Roofing, they can take care of that full roof replacement. If you're building a little addition and you need the roof on that, if you just need someone to come out and look at what you think might be a little bit of damage, 801-839-4501. Let Justin and his company take care of you. And again, you can trust them with the roof and, more importantly, with everything under the roof.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for being here, Justin. Lots left to get to on the Sean O'Connell Show. Stevens and Sylvester is still going to join us. That's coming up at the 1 o'clock hour. We talked about Nico, all right, that holdout situation. We have yet to get to probably the biggest local story. The Utah Jazz have done it. They did it. They found a way to be the worst team in the NBA. The NBA's regular season is over, the Jazz season over, and that means we get one final tank race update from James Peterson on the other side. It's Utah's number one sports talk, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. James Peterson with an NBA tank race update. Is this a little bittersweet for you, James? The last one for the Utah Jazz tank race. This has kind of been your baby throughout the second half of this regular season.
Yeah, it is a little bit sad. I'm not sad this season's over. I'll give you that much. I think that I don't know if we polled our listeners, how sad are you? They're probably going, no. Like, I wished it was over a month ago. It's been that kind of a season for the Utah Jazz. But yeah, it's been fun updating people, and for people who didn't quite understand it, we were looking for a more creative way to cover this Jazz team because it just gets stale going, they lost again. What are your thoughts on that? Especially when we know that was by design, right? So this was a way to keep track of what their actual goals were in the season and give you guys a chance to root for other teams to win that are close to the Jazz in the tank race. Hopefully that made this season a little bit more enjoyable for you.
Covering the Utah Jazz this year had a lot of unfortunate similarities to being like a little league, like not like AAU. I'm talking like junior Jazz rec league type coach, because you're trying to find these silver
Not
linings.
even the Bad News Bears kind of situation, which was kind of a traveling club team, little league team, right? This is
yeah,
even
like
more lower level
the
than that.
The kids whose parents just signed them up because they want free babysitting or close to free babysitting,
and to give them an excuse not to watch TV and
get them out of the house
and play video games in the summer. Yeah,
and you're coaching that team, and you're the enthusiastic volunteer coach, and you got a kid on the team, and you're just like, you know what? We're not winning any games, but you guys are trying real hard. And you, James Peterson over there, you hit 4 shots today, and I'm really proud of you. And next week you're going to hit 5 shots. That's what this Utah Jazz team was all season long, where you're just like, yeah, they're one of the worst teams in the NBA, but hey, look at this guy who's probably not going to be on the roster next year, but he'll be on some roster next year because he's doing some good things. It's painful, man.
Yeah, it was rough.
And we all had to accept, and this is a knowledgeable fan base, so we all accepted, I think, the tacit agreement was, we will support this for now. Now this Utah Jazz club is in the reality of the situation where only one thing can make it worth it. And that one thing comes down to the bouncing of a ping pong ball. Do you get Cooper Flagg or not? Because if you don't,
I think it's not quite that binary. I think if you get Dylan Harper, if you're Jazz management, maybe fans, because we've been hearing Cooper Flagg this, Cooper Flagg that, next star of the NBA, fans may not be that excited about a number 2 pick in Dylan Harper, but I think Jazz management would convince themselves that, okay, it was worth it to at least have gotten the second best player in the draft who could also be a future All-Star.
And you're right. And at the end of the day,
but beyond that, it's going to be tough to swallow.
At the end of the day, you shouldn't judge it on draft day. You should judge it at the end of the rookie season, at the end of the second season, and the end of the third season. Really, the end of the third season, because the first year, even if you get Cooper Flagg,
the long journey,
you're still a lottery team.
Yep.
If you get Dylan Harper, maybe he's just as good. Maybe he ends up being better than Cooper Flagg at the NBA level. You're still a lottery team next year. You're still a lottery team probably the year after that. And then by the end of year 3, you're looking at it and you're saying, did this work out at least as well as fill in the blank? Is this at least as good as Donovan Mitchell, who ended up being a pleasant surprise for a lot of folks? You know what I mean? And, of course, that comes with a different can of worms you got to open, can we keep this guy in Utah?
Yeah.
And that's honestly, I know that people hate hearing this and it's insensitive, but that's another reason why folks are like, well, let's get Cooper Flagg, because Cooper Flagg looks like everyone here.
Yeah, but so did Gordon Hayward.
Yeah, that's right.
Not to open that scab.
I don't know that that's a front of mind or even conscious thing that people are thinking, but when you actually break it down, there is whether it's justified or not, there's a belief around the NBA and even here in Salt Lake City that you're more likely to be able to satisfy the desires and the needs and the sort of cultural whatever of a guy who, like a white guy.
Yeah.
And that's, that's not unfair, and it's not, I don't think, even terribly insensitive, because Donovan Mitchell said it's nice to look out into the crowd and see people who look like me. And by the way, I've made it clear on this show many, many times, I don't begrudge him that at all. I don't think
everyone's experience is their experience.
Exactly that.
Like
and people got real up in
Yeah.
arms and still do about, well, we embraced Donovan Mitchell and we all loved him. Okay, yeah, that is mostly true.
We should let people have the truth that comes from directly their perspective, and that's what happened with Donovan Mitchell there.
The worst thing you can do if someone has a bad experience, like whether it's, a woman is mistreated in the workplace, whether it's someone of a different, socioeconomic background feels uncomfortable because you took them to the country club, whatever, like whatever that is, if it's a race-based thing, same. The worst thing you can do is be like, well, anecdotally, I support you, and my family bought your jerseys, and we all love you.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that everyone in the community treated them right. It doesn't mean that they never had an experience where they were just like, oh, well, you made me feel like as a woman I don't belong here in this job. Whatever. Like, all of that has to be considered, and I think consciously or subconsciously people do consider that with this upcoming NBA draft, and they say there's probably a few reasons why Lauri Markkanen likes it in Utah, and not the least of which is Salt Lake City is a lot more like Finland than LA is, right? So,
and that's why Cooper Flagg feels like a perfect cultural fit for the Utah Jazz. Even, let's be honest, the guy's from Maine. He's from nowhere near Utah, but
he's from Maine. How many the Boston Celtics are the only other team that has any kind of connection to Maine.
Yeah, because the Boston sports teams are all New England sports teams.
And that's right. And their G League team is like the Maine Celtics, right?
Okay, there you go.
So, anyway, I didn't mean to gobble up your bittersweet moment here, but give us the final tank race update.
Okay, so this last one of the season, because there's nothing to update after this, and I guess until the lottery, till we know till May 12th when we know the draft order. But this is it, as the regular season is in the books. What happened in the last weekend of regular season play? Well, the Jazz lost twice. They did their job. Let's go. They lost to the Thunder in their final home game, which was – they had a really fun send-off for Dan Roberts, by the way, the longtime PA guy. They had a Dan Roberts night in the game before against the Blazers that they inexplicably won. And then they gave him the game ball after the last home game against the Thunder. He shook the hands of all the players. They all gave him hugs and they took a nice picture with him. So we'd be remiss if we didn't say congratulations on an outstanding career, Dan Roberts, as well. But that was the Thunder game. He was the guy on the microphone for Bird versus Magic at the Huntsman Center, by the way. He's just not in Jazz basketball history. He's in basketball history here in Salt Lake City. So congrats to Dan Roberts. What happened on Sunday? They lost to the T-Wolves. That one, they stayed pretty close until about midway through the third quarter, though, OC. I was like, no way. The T-Wolves are going to mess this up for their chances to make the playoffs outright. They did pull away, thankfully, for the tank race and for the T-Wolves' playoff chances. Unfortunately for the secondary tank. We'll get to that in a second. We played the highlight. The Wizards, they lose to the Bulls on Friday and then Sunday. So they're up 11 with like 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, OC. I told you I was following this game as I was watching the Masters, watching NBA basketball and the commercials for the Masters. I'm going, okay, they may actually beat the Heat, but I'm like, it's going to get closer because they don't want to win. So it gets close. The Heat go up 4, and we played that sound for you. That was from the time The Heat went up 4 to the end of the game. They hit Wizards get a 3 to cut it to 1. You still are in a situation where it's like, okay, foul, and then you got a chance to tie the game, send it to overtime if you want to, right? That's where they are. The Heat get an over and back violation, a back court violation. The guy catches the ball.
That happens in the NBA all the time.
All the time. He catches the ball. His foot, he steps on the midline with his foot, automatic back court. Wizards get the ball with like 4.5 seconds left to win, and then Bub Carrington with just a circus floater layup off the top of the backboard as time expires in. And that is how the Jazz ended up with the league's worst record by 1 game. And, okay, the same – yes. Thank you, Washington.
Let's go.
Those dumb magicians deciding to win in the last second of the game. We love you. What does that mean, though? So the lowest the Jazz can fall is to 5th now, because you can only fall as many as 4 spots from your standings, from where you finished in the standings. So they finished worse, so they can fall. The lowest they can fall is 5th, so they're guaranteed a top 5 pick. The NBA draft lottery is May 12th. That's when we'll find out what pick they'll actually get. The highest pick the Jazz ever had, OC, 3rd. The guys they picked 3rd, Dominique Wilkins, who they had to trade away for payroll reasons.
Unfortunate.
In 1983.
Terrible.
Yeah. Darren Williams, your guy, D-Will.
D-Will.
We're going to see if we can get him on here soon to talk playoffs with us, hopefully. Ennis Cantor in 2011.
Yes.
So 1 out of 3 worked out for the Jazz. 2 out of 3 worked out as really good NBA players, obviously. Only one of them worked out for the Jazz. That's your guy, D-Will, in 2005. They have not picked higher than that.
All right.
So this is an opportunity. And really, like I said before, fans are going to be disappointed if it's not number 1. But if you fall out of 2, it's going to, even the front office in an honest moment is going to have a hard time saying that all the losing this year was worth it. I'll just put it like that.
Okay, so let me ask you this before we take a break here. Cooper Flagg went on SportsCenter, and he has not yet officially announced that he's going to the NBA draft.
Oh.
He says that
I didn't realize it wasn't official yet.
He says he's going to reflect. He's going to take up to 1 month to make a decision.
Couple more weeks.
I don't buy it. Okay, I don't buy the idea that like you're going to be the number 1 pick in the NBA draft, the number 1 overall pick.
You were so much better than just about everybody in college this year as a 17 and 18-year-old.
I know that you can make good money as a college basketball player now. I imagine being the big man on campus at Duke probably has a lot of benefits aside from financial benefits. I'm sure it's wonderful. I'm sure that he can go anywhere. He gets to hang out with whoever he wants to hang out with. Like, being that guy in college seems like it'd be awesome.
In you could argue now the premier college basketball program in the nation, yeah.
At the end of the day,
probably an
though,
awesome life.
Like, you are, 2 months away from securing generational wealth forever for your family, for yourself. All you have to do is make the decision to go. The allure of, hey, we could come back and we could win a national championship next year, fantastic. The Boozer twins are going to be his teammates next year, awesome.
Yeah, they're supposed to be top draft picks next year, along with A.J. DeBonsa, who's going to play in Provo.
The idea that he's even debating this is insane to me. I wonder if he's looking to see, well, who's going to be the first, who's going to take me? If I'm the number 1 overall pick, where am I going? And if he has any kind of preference on holdout Eli Manning style.
You got to hope that the stability and the track record of the Utah Jazz, which, yes, no championships, but they've had everything else besides a championship, you got to think, you would hope that if that's his thinking, if the Jazz are the ones with the number 1 pick, or if it's the Wizards with the number 1 pick, Jazz are number 2, you would hope that he'd go, no, I'm going to pull an Elway, I'm going to pull an Eli out of Washington to get to a place like Utah or wherever else, because the Wizards have been a hot mess for most of their existence post 1979. The Jazz, starting with that time, have been one of the most stable and one of the more successful franchises in the league. You'd hope that he'd have that kind of the people around him to explain that, hey, no championships, but that's a pretty damn good place to land.
Well, and as valiant as an effort as Duke can make, and the house settlement is going to change things or whatever, you're still coming up $20 million in the short term. Hundreds of millions of dollars in the long term, but $20 million in the short term, at least, short of what you can offer Cooper Flagg to come back to Duke versus what he can get as the number 1 overall pick in the NBA draft. So I think it's a matter of just, he's respecting the process. He's doing his due diligence, but feels to me like the decision is 99.9% made for you when the consensus from everyone around basketball is, yeah, you're the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
You would have to love college so much to go back to college instead of being the number 1 pick in any pro league, aside from the WNBA. But we'll get to that later in the show with Paige Becker's decision.
Real quick, just to resolve the secondary tank here, the T-Wolves did make the playoffs outright with their win, so they're the 6th seed versus the Lakers in the first round. That pick's going to be around 20th overall because of that. Cool. But, hey, you got to be okay with that because the Jazz did what they needed to do to get in position to get the number 1 overall pick. The secondary tank that we've called it's just gravy. And then also, did you know, OC, we're your home of the NBA postseason? We'll have 2 of the play-in games this week, Wednesday and Friday.
All right.
The 9 versus 10 game on Wednesday, that's Kings Mavs, and then the 8 seed game, the play-in tournament championship, if you will, on Friday. On Friday night, 7 o'clock are both of those starts. Then NBA playoffs officially begin on Saturday. We'll have every round all the way through the finals here on Utah's number 1 sports talk, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. The only station that's going to have playoff anything, because unfortunately our Utah Hockey Club out of the playoffs, we've got NHL playoffs here too. If you're wanting to pay attention to what people think is the best postseason in all of sports. If
you want to listen to games that people are trying to win, ESPN 700 is the home for that.
Absolutely.
If you've been interested in listening to games that everyone was trying to lose, we weren't able to help you. But with games that people actually want to win, you come right here. ESPN 700, 92.1 FM, the ESPN 700 Sports app, ESPN700sports.com. Sean O'Connell Show continues. Stevenson Sylvester in about 6 minutes. Utah's number 1 sports talk, ESPN 700. Stevenson Sylvester Sly is going to join us in a few minutes to start hour number 3 on the Sean O'Connell Show. First, our new partners at Top Local Roofing, Justin Cunningham here in studio with us. We call it a reverse remote. Been a lot of fun catching up with him. 801-839-4501, 801-839-4501. Put that number in your phone so that when you're ready to call your roofing guy, you're calling Top Local Roofing. Justin in here with us again. One of the big things that's happening right now in Utah, as folks are figuring out that, I'm not moving right now. I got that 3% handcuff, as we call it, a good mortgage rate, but maybe I want to add something. Maybe I want to build on to my home, or accessory dwelling units are a big thing right now. It's not just fixing old roofs, right? You'll do roof replacement, but if I'm building something in my backyard, if I'm putting a little mom and pop, a little mother-in-law situation back there, you also can help out with new construction, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. We love new construction a lot. And if anyone has any ideas on any upgrades they want, some people want to go from like a shingle roof to a metal roof. Some people want to go from a shingle roof to a cedar shake roof. Whatever ideas they have, we're open to it.
The like things like, roof design, like knowing exactly what pitch I need for where I live. If I'm all the way up in Park City, or I'm up at, Huntsville, Pineview Reservoir, that area, like the snow there is different. Heber is a big place now, right? That they're blowing up.
Yes.
That's going to be different than down here in the valley, right?
Absolutely. Any plans you have, we will help you with whatever takeoff is needed to get that job done correct.
801-839-4501. And I keep giving you that number because you need to call today to take advantage of this crazy offer from Justin and from the folks at Top Local Roofing. If you get on the schedule and you end up buying a new roof, you get on the schedule today and you end up replacing your roof, free gutters. The paper in front of me, it said 50% off gutters. And then Justin came in, he's like, no, we're going to do free gutters.
Yes.
That's 100% off, ladies and gentlemen. Free gutters, but you got to get on the schedule today.
Yes, call for a free inspection today, and then whatever decision you make over the next little bit of time, as long as you guys call in to set up the inspection today, we're going to honor that free gutter system for you.
So call them at 801-839-4501. Tell them you heard it on the Sean O'Connell Show. You heard it on ESPN 700. Tell them OC sent you and get the free gutters with the new roof. I promise you, we drive around. You see it in your neighborhood. There's always those shingles that don't have any granules left on them. There's always that roof that doesn't look great. I was walking my brand new dog. I was walking him yesterday, and someone has that cedar shake roof.
Yeah.
They're all in the driveway.
Yeah.
They're not even on the roof anymore. I'm just like, I'm going to drop like a business card from Top Local Roofing. This person is going to be flooding their house. So he'll take care of all of it. Justin and the crew, they'll jump out there as quick as they can. And we talked about this earlier. The turnaround is actually pretty quick.
Yep, 2 weeks. We have 22 crews, so we're constantly moving.
Dang, dude.
Yeah.
You're running a big company.
Yeah, we have an army, that's for sure.
How do you have time to hang out with me when you're running a company that large?
Well, it's Sean O'Connell. Who wouldn't come hang out?
That's
right?
exactly right. That's right. 801-839-4501. Give Justin a call today. Hook yourself up with a new roof and free gutters that go along with it. But that's today only, so call right now, 801-839-4501. Get on the schedule. All right, let's talk some spring football with Sly. Stevenson Sylvester, great linebacker at the University of Utah, successful NFL career as well. I think the linebackers are the strength of this defense. We'll see what Sly has to say about that on Utah's number one sports talk, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Welcome to hour number 3 here on the Sean O'Connell Show. Let me stir this up a little bit. Phoenix Suns have fired Mike Budenholzer. Coach Bud is out in Phoenix after one season at the helm. Is there anybody who had inordinate amount of success in a new job, I don't know, locally connected maybe, that has any kind of Phoenix Suns connections? Is there anybody you can think of that might be on the Phoenix Suns radar as a coach who spent some time in the NBA, knows something about having success in the NBA, had good relationships with important players in the Suns organization, who then took another job and was successful in that job, maybe a first-time head coach or anything? Is there anybody out there who the Phoenix Suns might be calling to say, hey, would you be interested in being in Phoenix instead of, Provo?
Oh, you're not talking about KYU.
I'm talking exactly about KYU. Kevin Young
leave the KYU wouldn't
No,
leave,
I am making it manifest with the upright raised hand, whatever you say. This man was part of that.
I feel like
Phoenix
I was just
Suns,
transported to my local church building here.
Kevin Young was part of the Phoenix Suns organization for several years, had great relationships there, was someone that players got along with, players respected. As far as we know, Matt Ishbia and ownership have some affection for him. And it was not an easy decision for Kevin Young to take the BYU job instead of remaining in NBA circles. But one of the things that makes it an easier decision is when you don't have an opportunity to be a head coach. Is that a phone call that's coming for Kevin Young? More importantly, is that a phone call that is coming from Kevin Young's agent to the Phoenix Suns? Is he interested in that at all? Would you be with the number one recruit in the country coming to play for you? I don't know. I'm just trying to sabotage BYU basketball's incredible momentum.
Hold up, OC. This is a moot point because they wouldn't be the highest bidders anyway.
Okay. What, James? What the bleep is that conversation about?
It's nonsensical. Like, why are you pushing back on the thought that you have lots of money to offer the best players? I don't understand that.
I'll tell you why BYU pushes back on the we can pay to get anybody here conversation. And 877-353-0700, if you want to argue with me, I will shoot down whatever argument you have. I'm just letting you know right now. But go ahead and bring it. 877-353-0700. BYU, even though it is a huge advantage for them and is an incredible asset for them that they have all of this successful and obsessive alumni that are very willing to share their success with the university, they don't want any kind of messaging going out there that has anything to do with success, BYU success, by extension, the church's success, having anything to do with money. And it drives me absolutely insane. It puts me up a wall that there's this crazy, double standard is not the right term for it. It's like a weird triple standard at BYU where the culture, from the time you're very, very young, wants you to do things the quote-unquote right way, look the quote-unquote right way, talk the quote-unquote right way, act the right way, work the right way, and then you will be rewarded with success. And guess what? To the chagrin of many, but in actual reality, it works in a lot of cases. People who live and work and internalize that culture end up pretty successful in some cases, in a lot of cases, right? You're not as prone to distractions sometimes if you're living that way. You have deep and meaningful connections that end up helping you build your business profile. And there's an entire Rolodex of folks that are BYU alum and LDS and whatever else that have been massively successful in business and finance, and then they end up wanting to reach down and lift people like them, lift people connected to them through BYU or other ways. into that same level of financial success. And then all of a sudden, when we see it, we see that where the spending is going. People are like, no. It's not because of the money. AJ DeBonsa wants to be at BYU because it's special here. The culture here is so wonderful. It's a unique place. That's why Keanu Tanuvasa wants to be here. It has nothing to do with the fact that we are willing to pay him more. Of course, these kids at a school like Baylor, of course, these guys from Waco, Texas, come to Provo and are just like, yep, this is exactly where I want to be. Knock it off. Just accept the fact. Celebrate the fact that you got a lot of money to throw around.
Well,
There's absolutely nothing wrong with it.
I can understand the church, which owns BYU, of course, not wanting a separation between their money and top athletes being recruited here.
NIL
You
money
already-
and church money are not the same.
You already have that separation. Why not celebrate the fact that BYU's boosters, the vast majority of them, active members of your religion, are successful enough to be able to donate that kind of money to attract these kind of athletes. I understand. So that's why I say I understand the church saying we're not paying for this. Hey, we don't want any of that narrative out there. Well, everyone already understands that.
Okay, so the money doesn't come directly from the tax-exempt church. We know that. That's the case, by the way, at every NIL institution. Nobody looks at Ohio State getting all the players in football transfer portal. Nobody looks at Oregon and goes, the university itself is paying for this. Nobody does that. Everyone looks at it and goes, Oregon's got Uncle Phil. Phil Knight, Nike founder, is willing to pay whatever it takes to see Oregon football win a national championship before he dies. He has basically been on record saying exactly that. Okay? And when Robert Wright III, Baylor star, decided that in the transfer portal he was going to end up at BYU, a place where he has no other connection, no realistic reason to go except for the fact that they are premier players in the NIL space right now. They are top of the top of the top in the basketball NIL world right now. The number being floated around and reported is that he's looking at $3 to $3.5 million. AJ DeBonsa, allegedly, we're talking about around $5 million to play at BYU. These guys are thinking about, can I be in Provo for 6 months for $3 million or $5 million? Just lean into it, please. This whole BYU will definitely be competitive in NIL, but we're never going to be the highest bidder. Wrong. You are going to be the highest bidder, and you're going to have to be the highest bidder on several players in order to get them to accept the trade-off. And the trade-off is they can't be in their girlfriend's apartment past midnight. In fact, they can't even go in their girlfriend's room. Just stop living in denial. There's no BYU fan, there's no reasonable BYU fan that thinks this doesn't have anything to do with the money. When you make, or when you're even associated with statements like, well, we're not going to be the highest bidder. That's not how we're going to get people here. We're going to get people here because they want to be here for other reasons. You look like an idiot. You look institutionally like you're living in denial. And that is just, it's unfair to all the people at BYU, coaching at BYU, playing at BYU, who are just like, yeah, I'm here because I make a lot of money here, dude. It's pretty cool that we have an NBA owner, an NBA GM. We have these types of people who want this team to be successful. And whoever else, by the way, is pulling puppet strings behind the scenes, like Jonathan Tavernari told us, those people all earned their money one way or another, and they're willing to share it with young athletes. And if they have to pay an extra $500,000 so that BYU can be in the Final Four next year, you don't have to go out there and try to gloss it over with some other fake reason for someone coming to Provo. It's stupid. All right, enough about that. We've been able to track down Stevenson Sylvester. So we switch gears and we talk a little Utah spring football. 22 Forever game is happening on Saturday. Sly, of course, NFL veteran and one of the all-time great linebackers at the University of Utah, kind enough to join us right now. Sly, how are you?
What's going on? How you doing?
Doing all right. Hey, you know what? I ran into Zane Beadles at the airport last week. Have you seen Zane lately?
Of course I've seen him.
Dude, he's
was
lean.
Was he wearing his nice jacket he got?
He is lean and mean, man. He is like he's probably like 240 right now. Guys,
No, I asked him and he's like, I'm still like 270. He just wears it well.
Wow,
well, it helps to be 6'4", 6'5".
Yeah, he wears it very well then.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does.
Anyway, it was fun running into Zane Beadles, one of the great Utes, and we were on the same flight going to Florida. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Let's talk a little spring football. Look, you played the position, one of the greats to ever play the linebacker position at the University of Utah, and I think that is the strength of this defense, at least the established strength of this defense right now. I think Levani Damuni is underrated as a player completely because the injury made people forget how impactful he was at Stanford. And obviously, we love what Lander Barton is capable of, especially the second half of last year. He really came on again. And John Hall is another testament to the vision of this coaching staff where you transition a guy from one position to another, and he ends up being, I think, on his way to being a great player. Am I up in the night, Sly, and thinking that this linebacking core is maybe better than it was last year or even the year before?
Well, the only reason it would be better is because of health, right?
Sure.
And we're healthy. We're healthy as of now. But I agree with you, man. Our linebacker, this is becoming linebacker. I was kind of talking to Colton Swan the other day. I'm just like, you've got a pretty good track record. You've got some guys that came through here. And, we're doing some great things. I mean, you go all the way back to Cody Barton, Chase Hansen, Gianni Paul. I was just on a call with Gianni Paul last week, and Jared Norris. And, you could go back a while over the last decade. Every single year, you're like, we got some dudes that played at the linebacker position, man. And so it's just that trend is just keep going. And, to what you said, man, Levani Damuni, forget Stanford. What even he did that 1 year at Utah before his injury was great. He had to fill in for injury at that time, and there was not a beat missed at the linebacker position. So now he's healthy, got more than a year of rest from his injury, and so I just think that Utah is primed. I love this linebacker unit. Jonah Hall got some great experience last year, and so he's now playing free and loose. And, of course, he's a former safety, so he's that Devin Lloyd-esque athletic linebacker. And once he puts it all together as far as schemes and knowing exactly what the other team is doing, he's going to be an all-star. So, this year will be a great year for him. I think he's going to make a lot of outstanding plays. But his senior year, I think, is going to be one that we all need to look out for Jonah Hall with. But, yeah, man, Levani Damuni, Lander Barton is just as confident as ever. All single-digit linebackers, 7'3" and 8. I kind of like that. But I think those guys are going to be a force to reckon with throughout the Big 12.
The question, and I guess there's plenty of questions, but the question I have about these linebackers, I don't doubt those individuals and their ability to excel in this defense. To play linebacker successfully, you do have to have some big dogs up front. And that has always been an absolute given at the University of Utah. Strangely, this year, you had a couple guys. You got Junior Tafuna moving on to the NFL. You got Keanu Tanavasa transferring out. And now it's a little bit more of a question than usual. I think they're going to be fine up front on the interior defensive line. I think you'll have guys that can gobble up blockers and keep those linebackers running free. But I wanted your thoughts on that position, which is so firmly established, it seems like every single year, being a bit more up in the air as we head into 2025.
Yeah, if there's anybody that could advocate for good defensive line, it's me. You know, my freshman year playing linebacker, 190 pounds, I had some dogs up front, right? I had Kelly Talivo, Paul Soliai, Martel Burnett, Stoli Lafitte at those defensive line positions. So they ate up everything. I mean, all 5 offensive linemen, they had to pay attention to Martel Burnett, Kelly Talivo, and Paul Soliai the entire time. So me, I could be Weddle's weight and be free. I was not dealing with offensive linemen. So I appreciate a good front. I just think with our front right now, there's no big names, right? And that's because they haven't had the time. With those guys vacating those positions, now you'll get to see. You know, over the last 2 years, all I've heard is Morgan Skelly talk about Dallas Vakalahi. And so this is his time to shine. And, 2008, which I'm sure you're familiar with, we had Greg Newman and Derek Shelby, who were defensive ends, rotate down to the defensive tackle position. And that made all the difference in the world. And right now, they're going to do that with John Henry Daly. So we're going to see John Henry Daly move in. You know, he was a transfer last year, but he's going to move down to that 3 technique position. And he's going to be a nice force for us. And Aliki Viamahi, he was kind of injured last year as well. But I think it's just time for these guys to make a name for themselves, right? And so, yeah, we don't have that big first team all preseason all conference guy, but I'm looking forward to somebody making a name for themselves as being that force, that consistent force all year. And I think Dallas or Aliki or even John Henry can make a splash at those positions. That's one position as you said, coming in, we've never really worried about, right? Because we have good coaching and they always hold it down on the fort, man. So these guys do have experience. So there's that. But, it's just time for them to make a name for themselves.
Stevenson Sylvester for another minute or two here on the Sean O'Connell Show, talking Utah football. Spring camp comes to an end this week with the 22 Forever spring game. All proceeds from ticket sales donated to the 22 Forever Scholarship Fund. So take the whole family, get yourself out there. The weather's going to be good. Come say hi. I'll just be sitting there watching it as a fan on Saturday. Very much looking forward to that game. Let's talk about the place where people do have questions. Offensive side of the ball, you've got a new offense being installed. You've got all new personnel in the coaching room and a lot of new personnel on the player front over there. Thankfully, the offensive line is consistent, but I don't know how much you've seen of Devin Dampier. He's starting to get the same kind of hype that people hoped he would in the national publications and things like that. His game film from New Mexico is incredible. I know people from that New Mexico staff that are so high on this kid, even defensive coaches from that staff. We're just like, he is a special human being, not just a great player. We've had one opportunity to talk to him, and the guy he's just bursting with enthusiasm and all this greatness. What do you think he's going to be as a player, Sly?
And that's yet to be seen. I am not, especially after these last couple of years, am not one to buy into hype. I don't care for hype. I want to see results. And that's what he did at New Mexico. He had results. We are going to a new conference. He has a new team. We all know offense is all about continuity and chemistry. And so if he can provide that, which, you're bringing new guys in, it's all about experience, and that's what spring ball is about, right? And they've been doing a good job this offseason of implementing this offense, implementing the tempo. Devin Dampier has had an amazing opportunity to imprint his capabilities, his wants, his flow into this offense. So I love his addition this early on in the year before training camps. When we get to training camp, we can be off to the races. I know we got to cut rosters down here in a little bit, but really looking forward to seeing exactly this offense take shape, right? One thing that I looked at is we don't have those big names, but we do have ballers, right? I think there's a lot of talent on this team, from Wayshawn Parker to Nakiri Rogers in the backfield. We know this running game's got to be freaking on point this year. Devin Dampier, of course, with his versatility of throwing the ball and running. But Nate Johnson coming back into the fold, I think he's great. Zerberg, he has a strong arm for what I've seen. I've yet to see, the consistent accuracy, in practice, but he has a very, very strong arm. It's just a good rotation. We all know Isaac Wilson has a strong arm, and he's going to be great in that fold. But I just want to see this running game really, really take shape. I just love the experience from Spencer Fano, Michael Mogafisi, Jaron Cupp, Tanoa Togiai, and Caleb Lamu. Those guys have been working with each other for the past year. They know each other. They got great chemistry. So I just want to see them confidently take over the Big 12 this year, which I think they can do with our schedule. I love it. And then the other assets from Otto Tia, big body, being able to catch deep balls. Creed Whitmore, I think he's going to be that Britton Covey-esque slot guy, Jeremy Brooks type of slot guy, shifty guy that we can have and make things happen. Extremely versatile. And to see Zacharias Williams, we saw him in the Central Florida game at the end of the last year. Of his whole capabilities, we're kind of just like, where's this guy been at all year? Coach Whittingham actually said, if there was a receiver number one, it's Zach Williams. And, I'm excited to see all of that take off. But there's a lot of young talent without the big name, promotion out there. And so I just want to see a lot of these guys become those guys. Landon King, I think that he's going to be a huge asset in this style of offense with Devin Dampier, the RPO, big body over the middle. There's just a lot of things that are promising on the horizon, for this Utah offense, and really looking forward to seeing that in the spring game. So if you guys are wondering the same thing that I'm wondering, the spring game is where you're going to get a good indication of what this offense could be heading into training camp and heading into the season.
Sly, before I let you go, Spencer Fano is being talked about maybe as the best right tackle in the entire country. If he can be close to that, what does it do for Devin Dampier? What does it do for this offense? What does it do for Utah to have a guy who's probably getting his name called on the first day of the draft?
Well, I mean, it's huge psychologically, right, for your opponent. Right. I love those things. Well, one, I think Spencer can back it up, because that's one thing, too. If you're getting the recognition, just know that people are going to start coming at you. But two, can you back it up? Spencer Fano can back it up. That guy is athletic, as you've seen, and then he's just getting more and more confidence. Now going into year 3 of his career, All-American last year, this guy can back up any type of promotion that he's getting across all these accolades. He's definitely worth it, and I love that, man. And he's young still, man, just a true junior, got a lot of experience, and he's doing the right things, man. And psychologically, having that against your opponent is not even going to try that side, right? So if you know that, then you can design a lot of running plays, a lot of offensive pass protections that can go off of that side. You can slide a lot of protections to the left side and leave Spencer on the island on the other side, and he'll be able to handle himself. Having Devin Dampier, a right-handed quarterback, be able to have his right side taken care of for him rolling out that way is great. And then, you just plug the backside, make sure that his blind side is taken care of with a chip block from a tight end or a running back. And, there's just a lot of guarantees you can have with a guy like Spencer Fano. It opens up your offense as far as the security. Spencer Fano, as again, extremely athletic. I love running screenplays. So you get that Creed Whitmore, that really athletic guy, or Zacharias Williams, and you run those tunnel screens, you run those smoke screens, and then you have a big offensive lineman who's lead blocking for you downfield. That is huge. We've seen athletic tight ends or athletic tackles do what, Trent Williams is doing. You're going to see that from Spencer Fano. He's going to line up in the U tight end position. He's going to motion, and he's going to be your lead blocker on Power O. I would love to have Spencer Fano as a fullback on Power O. So I just think you're going to see a lot of creativity with a guy like Spencer Fano. And one, he can back up all the accolades and press that he's getting.
Sly, I appreciate your time today. We'll see you up there on Saturday, man.
Perfect. Thanks. Talk to you soon.
Stevenson Sylvester. You'll hear him on the sidelines for all Utah football radio broadcasts this season. Bill Riley, of course, will be the play-by-play man. Scott Mitchell, color analyst. And you can hear every one of those guys on the Sean O'Connell Show. Looking forward to the spring game this week. All right, Justin Cunningham, Top Local Roofing, one more time here on a Monday, a busy Monday on the Sean O'Connell Show on your favorite home of the Utes, ESPN 792.1 FM, 801-839-4501. Don't pretend that you have any reason to forget it. Don't pretend you have no reason to put it in your phone. I've been telling you for weeks. 801-839-4501. That is the number for Top Local Roofing. You want to get on the schedule today because if you do need a new roof, they'll come out, they'll do an inspection, they'll say, hey, yeah, this is where you're at, this is the price, this is the financing options. You probably want to go with the new roof. If you get on the schedule today, they're going to give you free gutters to go along with that new roof. You'll pay for the roof, but you're going to get the gutters for free, and they're seamless, which I didn't even know was a thing until Justin came in here today. But it's a great deal. Why are you offering our listeners such a great deal? You get a wild hair this morning? You just wanted to get some phone calls running? What's going on?
Well, I felt pressured by Sean O'Connell. Everyone's seen the pressure he puts on.
I can't. It's unfortunate because I can't bully Justin Cunningham on your behalf. Justin, I was told when our friend Brad Clifford made the introduction, I was just like, dude, this guy is an incredible grappler. And then we had our first conversation, and you told me you're a leg lock guy. So I was like, okay, I can't mess with this dude.
Yeah, it's about the only way I can beat guys like Brad and Matt Martinez and you, I'm sure.
Leg locks, man.
Legs, man.
It's like, I mean, they're legal, but it feels like cheating when you get caught in one. Like,
it's cheating. It's totally cheating.
Oh, I love it. Anyway, so you've got that offer going on right now. Free gutters with the purchase of a new roof, 801-839-4501. And I mentioned the financing options. It is a big-ticket item, right? It's not something that people usually have planned in the budget. So sometimes if you need that new roof, if the next rainstorm comes and you notice that leak, hopefully it hasn't gotten to that point. Hopefully you get out ahead of it with Top Local Roofing. But when it comes time to write those checks, it can be a little bit painful, so you guys can help out with financing options.
Absolutely. Yeah, we offer Hearth financing, and they're amazing to work with great rates. And like I said earlier, I believe no prepayment penalties, but yeah, I'll have to re-verify that.
Well, Justin and I can help you out if Hearth is trying to get you to, agree to some prepayment penalties. No, we'll figure it out, right? You just need to get on the schedule today. 801-839-4501. I've been trying to stump you on something that Top Local Roofing doesn't really do in the roofing world. New construction you're willing to do. Yep. The cedar shake roofing, the metal roofing, membrane roofing, shingle roofing. You really got it all covered.
We have it all covered. We're a one-stop shop.
Okay. What about I know you take care of gutters.
Mm-hmm.
What if my home needs like a full exterior, soffit, fascia, all that kind of stuff? You guys at least know the right people for that?
No, we got you there as well.
Okay.
We do it all.
Okay.
I mean, we're not just a roofing company, but it's primarily like our target.
All right.
So we do soffit, fascia, gutters, framing, you name it, we pretty much do it.
The reason I'm asking these questions is so that you, the consumer, you, the potential customer, know that when you call Top Local Roofing with a question, you're going to get that question answered. Yes. And Justin's going to make sure that, whoever comes out there, whatever crew comes out there, answers those questions, does it honestly, and gets you in the right situation. We know how daunting it can be as homeowners when problems start to arise. They're here to fix those problems, not create new ones for you.
Of course. And I have Sean O'Connell to answer to.
That's right.
You guys are in good hands.
That's right.
Trust me.
I'll do my best, even though he'll try to leg lock me. I'll do my best to intimidate him into taking care of things for you. No, but look, it's you've been a great partner for the show. It's still kind of a new thing. We're trying to get the traffic moving, and this deal you're offering with the free gutters, it really is something. I mean, that's a big savings. Depending on the size of the home, those gutters, that's multiple thousands of dollars that goes right back in your pocket.
Yep, to the homeowner, and that's why we're doing it. So take it from me, give it to them.
801-839-4501. And it's a big company. He's got crews that can come out and get this thing done in the next couple of weeks for you, so you're not going to be worried about this long turnaround time. That's also a big benefit. Last thing before I let you go, a new roof can make your home a lot more energy efficient as well.
Yes.
So we're building in savings on the gutters and on the heating and cooling bills for the next however long.
Yes, yeah, we our company definitely understands the ventilation systems that go on roofs. You'd be shocked at how a lot of these other roofing companies do not understand it. So, we always do an equal intake to outtake ratio, which is great for your roof's life and for those costs of heating and air conditioning.
I had no idea that was even a thing.
It's a thing.
I didn't know it was a thing at all.
Yeah.
It's real.
Yeah.
You get that new roof put on, and it's not, look, it doesn't cover the whole cost of the roof right away, but it helps out long term.
Very much helps long term. Yep.
Justin, thanks for being here today. Let's get some of these calls going. 801-839-4501. You get a new roof, get on the schedule today. You end up getting a new roof, you're going to get free gutters to go along with it. All right, lots left to get to, and only 25 minutes left to do it. We got tickets to give away. We got golf to give away. Sean O'Connell Show continues on Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM.
for all this history.
The lone journey is over. McIlroy has his masterpiece.
He's been holding that reaction in since 2014.
That was the winning putt for Rory McIlroy. He takes home the green jacket. That sound courtesy of CBS Sports. Jim Nantz, Trevor Immelman on the call. One hole playoff against Justin Rose after plenty of drama in the final round at Augusta. His first Masters and first major championship since 2014. So Rory McIlroy completes the career Grand Slam, making him one of 6 professional golfers to do it. It's unbelievable. He won all four majors, and he puts himself in the annals of golf history in a way that, the best context I can put it into is you don't have to be a golf fan at all to know the other names that Rory McIlroy now gets to be alongside. Like the average person who doesn't watch golf, doesn't care about golf, knows who Jack Nicklaus is, knows who Hogan is, knows who Tiger is.
Certainly knows who Tiger Woods is.
And Rory, I'm not saying that Rory is Tiger because of this or is Jack because of this, but now you're rubbing elbows with those giants.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
This is the obvious comparison is Grand Slam tennis, right? Because it's a similar structure. You got your regular tournaments on whatever tour you're on, and then you've got the ones that the whole world pays attention to that are for a year.
Yeah.
This is like Andre Agassi won all 4 Grand Slams in tennis, but he's nowhere near the top 3 that we've just finished that are just finishing their careers. Djokovic still going, Rafa Nadal, who's my personal favorite, and Roger Federer. But he's still in he's still in the same company as those guys because he's one of the few guys to win all 4 Grand Slams. It's the same kind of Rory. He's not going to be compared to his greatness isn't going to be compared to Tiger Woods and Jack Nicklaus, but he's still in the same company as those guys because he's one of 6 to do this. It shouldn't. That's where comparison, the old saying, comparison is a thief of joy. That's where it gets you with this kind of thing. Let's just appreciate the guy, especially after so many near misses the last 11 years, finally got it done, and he is in the same company as those guys.
If you didn't get a chance to watch it live, it is worth finding the YouTube quick recap and just seeing the drama that was injected into this final round.
Dramatic.
Because when you're kind of like in control of a game, in control of a tournament, in control of anything, and you start to slip up and shudder and shake, and suddenly whoever's in second place right behind you has an opportunity, probably just terrifying for the Rory of the world, right? But if you're Justin Rose in that situation, you're just like, oh boy, I can actually do this.
I could mess around and win the Masters here.
If you're DeChambeau, you're just like, sweet. Thank you for opening that door for me.
Unfortunately, Bryson not able to take advantage. He had his own struggles on Sunday. But yeah, just a quick recap of what happened. Watch the YouTube one, actually get to watch what happened. But here's what happened on Sunday, the drama that happened.
Honestly, James, the first thing and the only thing, well, not the only thing, but the first thing, when you're talking about going into Sunday with a lead, and then your first hole is a double bogey, that means it's time to watch this.
Absolutely.
It's like if you're sitting in church,
a guy who's had a few collapses over the last 11 years too.
I know a lot of you are sitting in sacrament meeting with your phones out, okay? And you're just like, let me just see how things are going. And you're like, oh,
double bogey.
Double bogey? You're like, I'm skipping. I got to go home, honey. I'm feeling sick.
Can't do the second hour.
I feel gross right now. I forgot something. And you got to watch.
Garage doors open. I got to head home. So he's up 2 entering the day. You mentioned the double bogey. DeChambeau in the next hole takes the lead. and then so it's a two-shot swing, 2 holes in. Rory regains the lead after another 2-stroke swing. Bryson bogey, Rory birdie. The lead gets increased to 4 strokes. It may have been 5 even, but at least 4 after 10 holes. And it's minus 14 Rory, minus 10 are guys like Oberg and Justin Rose and one or two other guys. Feels like it's over. It feels like it's absolutely over at that point. You're halfway through. You got at least a 4-stroke lead. He then loses all 4 strokes in the next 4 holes. He gets another double and 2 more bogeys in the next 4 holes. It was his 4th double bogey of the tournament too, OC. That's the most ever by a Masters champion in the same tournament. So that's the kind of odds he was going up against. He ends up being tied with Justin Rose at 11 under at that point. He regains the lead after 17. And at that point, I'm like, okay, now it's over. But then, of course, after a great tee shot, hits the second shot into a greenside bunker. Good chip, sets up a makeable putt to win the Masters. Just misses to the left. And then forces a playoff. But here's the thing. It's just a redo of his 18th hole that he screwed up at the end there. And he doesn't have any issues that time around. Rose pars on what was a somewhat makeable birdie putt that would have forced a second hole playoff, and Rory takes advantage with that birdie putt we just played. I mean, just so much up and down. They called it the Rory coaster. It was perfectly named.
It's
like
cute, actually.
It was quite a roller coaster on Sunday, and just absolutely fun to watch.
And look, I'm not a golf fan. I can't watch tournament golf. I can't spend a whole Sunday watching it. I'm not telling you to do that. Take the quick recap. But to be able to see the emotion, like we get so caught up in the contracts and the money and it's all about wins and stuff. You sometimes lose how emotional this is and how much it means to people. Like Rory spent a lot of time post-tournament speaking with the press, and none of it was about $4 million, which was the purse for this one, right? Very little of it was even completing the Grand Slam. He's only the 6th golfer to do it. Most of it was about him achieving a dream that he had from when he was a kid. And the people that surrounded him and helped him along the way.
Doing it with his best friend, caddying for him, who's done it, who's been his caddy his whole career, being able to do it alongside him.
7 years old.
Yeah.
And by the way, he felt defensive about, because when Rory would get criticized for some of his collapses, his caddy would as well. People would say, oh, this guy isn't helping. He needs
Clearly didn't give him good enough advice.
He needs to move on, and he's, whatever else. Like, anytime when you go on an 11-year drought from top level golf, winning at the highest level, people are going to start to be like, well, you got to make a change to get you over the hump. And Rory was always like, no, I'm not going to do that. And now he gets to say, I made the right decision because I won the Masters and I did something that only 5 guys before me have done. Pretty cool.
Really cool. And the other cool thing, you can't quite get this from the recap, but watching it, Bryson, as I mentioned earlier in the show, he's trying to be that man. He's been making a concerted effort to be that man of the people, and get big reactions, the way Tiger-esque type big reactions after making big putts and whatever. He continued to do that on Sunday. In fact, so Rory went up first, they announced him, and he didn't high five anyone in the little human tunnel that they have going up to the first tee. Bryson may not have missed a hand on the high five, and he got an even bigger ovation than Rory did. Rory was laser focused. He didn't want to be distracted by, hey, let me try to keep the crowd in it. He seemed so laser focused on the task at hand, which was trying to finish out this tournament as a champion. And he still had his struggles as we outlined there, but it was really cool to see just how he knew the gravity of this. You could tell he knew how the weight of all of this was in the way that he didn't want any outside distractions. He just wanted to focus in and do the best he could. He even said, I'm not looking at the leaderboard. There's a couple of places, as they talked about in the broadcast, you can't help but see the leaderboard because it's right there in front of you. But you could tell this was such a big thing to him that even though he is a bit of a man of the people, he was not that on Sunday. He was, hey, I'm focused on this.
And he probably knew what was going on in his own head because that first hole was a disaster. But he rallied, he survived. Rory McIlroy wins his first Masters, completes the career Grand Slam, becoming only the sixth golfer to do it. All right, we've been talking with Justin Cunningham at Top Local Roofing all day, and I keep telling you got to have a roofing guy when you need a roofing guy. We're well established in telling you that you have window guys through ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Advanced Window Products, these guys have been with us. They've been with you for even longer than they've been with us. But Advanced Window Products, lifetime warranties, local sales, local installation, local warranty coverage, no middleman. They pass that savings on to you, and they take care of you for the life of your home. 801-850-9100. Call the mayor of Sac Lake City. Call Nate Orchard. Call Jake. Call whoever answers the phone and say, come out. I need a window estimate. I need to know what this sliding door is going to cost me. I need to put a pet door in. Whatever it is, they will take care of you. Tell them OC sent you. 801-850-9100. Advanced Window Products. Hooking up Utah fans. Hooking up listeners to ESPN 700. Not just now. Not just years ago. But for life. Give them a call and tell them OC sent you. I will give away some golf and some tickets next on the Sean O'Connell Show as we wrap things up. It's ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. I'm going to say it one last time on the show today. Save this number in your phone, 801-839-4501. Top Local Roofing is hooking you up with free gutters with the purchase of a new roof. Just get on the schedule today. It doesn't have to be installed today. It doesn't have to be installed next week. Get them out there for an inspection, 801-839-4501. If ultimately you decide to purchase a new roof, they're going to give you free gutters to go along with that. Justin Cunningham and Top Local Roofing can take care of anything your house needs. And, of course, it's the roofing company you can trust with everything under the roof. All right, breaking Benjamin tickets at Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater, 18 holes to Mount Ogden as part of our Festival of Tees, brought to you by the Utah Golf Association. If you can tell me, Rory McIlroy, he completed the career Grand Slam. Only 6 golfers have done so. Who was the first one to win them all? We talked about this very briefly early in the show today. 877-353-0700 for breaking Benjamin tickets and 18 holes to Mount Ogden as part of our Festival of Tees powered by the Utah Golf Association. Crosstalk is brought to you by friends at Burt Brothers. Burt Brothers does it better. Spence Checketts in the driver up next. Good to see you.
Sean, it's been a minute. Welcome back.
Yeah, thanks.
Welcome back to our fine city.
Yes, it's wonderful.
Yeah, you glad to be back on the ground?
Yeah, obviously.
Okay. Well, you never know. Maybe enjoy your travels.
I don't mind going and calling fights. It's always an absolute blast, but, it's fun to be home.
Good to be back. Did you consume any of the Sunday action at Augusta National Golf Club?
I'm not a big golf guy.
No, I know. Yeah.
So I was like, I'll just catch the YouTube quick recap so I'm prepared for it. After the kids go to bed, I'll be prepared to talk on my show. But my buddy was coming over with his family, and the kids were going to play together and all that stuff. And I was like, who won? He's like, what do you mean who won? It's not over. Turn it on. And I was like, oh, okay. So we turned it on, watched the last couple of holes. Worth it.
You caught the best part then.
Yeah, exactly.
What in your career in covering sports, playing sports, local or national, what's an example of monkey off the back game win, game performance? Because I can't imagine what Rory has been carrying around for, quite frankly, longer than 11 years, but 11 years since he had the opportunity to become the 6th golfer to win the Grand Slam. There's the Stockton shot against the Rockets that finally sent the Jazz to the finals. There's Utah football making it to a Rose Bowl. I'm just trying to think about this. Like, what are the examples of, like, a performance, a win, one game, one series, one ring that shuts everybody up, and you're like, man, he did it.
Well, I think that Utah's first Pac-12 championship could probably be equated to that, because you've been knocking on the door. You had that weird fluke year right after you got into the conference that you were close to because of USC's inability to compete for a conference championship.
Yeah.
You were like almost in there, and but that would probably be one, at least on the home of the Utes, that makes a lot of sense. That you finally got, that monkey off the back. You won the Pac-12 championship, and then you went and did it again the next year.
Right.
Actually had a really interesting one that probably fits this mold in the UFC this weekend. Never before in a weight class smaller than 170 pounds has somebody over the age of 35 won a belt or defended a belt. It's never happened for someone who's advancing in age. In the upper weight classes, it happens.
Mm-hmm.
But where the smaller guys, it's all predicated on speed and gas tank and all that kind of stuff, no one over the age of 35. It's like heading into this weekend, it was like 0 for 67 or something crazy.
Mm.
And Alexander Volkanovski did that this weekend.
Yeah.
He beat a guy who was 11 years younger than him for a championship for a vacant featherweight title, which is it's never happened in the sport, and it obviously hadn't happened for him in that advanced stage. So that's kind of a similar situation.
What was the my guy Joe Rogan was mad over the weekend about something.
Was he?
That happened at a UFC fight. I think he thought an official called a fight too quickly.
Yes, there was a somewhat early stoppage in the Dan Ige fight.
That's what it was.
Yeah. Dan Ige from Haleiwa.
Shout out.
North Shore.
Very nice. My new favorite fighter. I've never heard of him, but I love him now.
He's awesome.
Oh,
He's
cool.
An incredible fighter. Really, really good. But, yeah, he dropped the guy, and the dude was kind of like trying to wrestle his way out of trouble, and he was just peppering him with some shots, and the referee stopped it. And the guy just stood up and was like, why did you stop that? Which happens.
Yeah.
That happened to me in my 4th MMA fight ever.
You thought they stopped it too early.
Well, I don't think they stopped it too early. I got knocked down, not out. I was conscious the whole time. I got knocked down, and the referee, because when you're early in your career, they're really trying to protect you.
Sure,
more,
sure,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
He stepped in and waved it off. I was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh."
Oh, so he knew? Did he know right away?
Yeah, because
that
like,
sucks.
Because he's like,
Yeah.
I thought you were in trouble. I'm just like, no, dude, I just suck, so I get hit sometimes. Anyway.
See, I am team call it early. Because I'm going to tell you why. Okay, this is a peek in. I'm a sweet guy, Sean.
Yes,
you know me. I'm a sweet guy.
I know that about
Here's
you.
a peek into my mind. I enjoy watching the fights until somebody is down on the canvas and unable to react, and they're getting their head caved in
Just
by some
dribbled
big
like a
dude.
basketball.
Like, I'm not into that, man.
Okay.
I'm screaming like he is going to die. Stop doing that.
Yeah.
Okay, so once it gets to the point where death is potentially imminent, these are not small men. And there's a helpless person laying there with the inability to defend himself, and he's just getting punched over. And please stop it, because now you're ruining my night.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
That's my take.
Yeah, look, an early stoppage is better than a late stoppage.
That's what I'm saying.
I'll say that.
That's what I'm saying.
But an early stoppage also, when you're on the receiving end of it, is you're just like, thank you. You just cost me half of my fight purse.
Sure, yeah.
And potentially got me cut from the UFC or whatever, because they're very fickle about momentum and things like that.
It's interesting. It dovetails into a conversation I think we always have about officiating. That is, do you have sympathy for officials that get it wrong? Because coaches get it wrong, players get it wrong. We don't crucify players or coaches on the personal level that we crucify an official on if he gets one call wrong. Do you allow space for a human to make an error? Or because of how much is at stake, jobs are at stake, money is at stake, legacy is at stake. And if you're the official that makes the call that gets it wrong and affects all that, public outcry is never on your side.
I allow space and grace as long as it's not my team that is affected by the call.
I think most people land on that. Yes.
You know what I mean?
think that's the right answer.
It's like, the casual Colorado football fan in the Holy War this year was just like, oh, come on. Yeah, like, it probably wasn't pass interference, but you got to give them a little benefit of the doubt here.
Yeah,
Meanwhile, Utah fans are like, I will murder everyone that has ever spoke to that referee.
It depends on your loyalty, no doubt.
Depends on your loyalty, for sure. Well, Jazz fans, you did it. You made it all the way through, and I'm sure Spence is going to have something to say about that on the show today.
We'll talk about it. I was there for the postseason media today with Justin Zanuck and Will Hardy. We are right around the lottery is less than a month away, so we actually do have one date in the spring to look forward to as basketball fans around here, so we'll get into it.
All right, stay tuned for The Drive with Spence Checketts. Thanks to everyone who listened to the show today. Thanks to everyone who joined me on the show today, especially Justin Cunningham, who took time out of his schedule to come do a little reverse remote. 801-839-4501. Get on the schedule. If you purchase a roof with Top Local Roofing, they're going to give you free gutters if you get on the schedule today. Thanks for listening to the Sean O'Connell Show. ESPN 700, 92.1 FM.